It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, we're getting our first little bit of movement here at the top of the draft. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. NFL draft less than a week away now, at least the first round. And we get a little something here, Perloff. A little something.
But wait, did we really get something, or did we make up something? What's the...
No, I'm not making anything up. I'm talking about the new general manager of the New England Patriots is a guy by the name of Elliott Wolf. And yesterday, he was speaking to the media. Of course, the Patriots hold the number 3 pick in this draft. And here's what he had to say about them being open for business.
We're open to anything, moving up, moving down. We're open for business in the first round and in every round. We have some holes we feel like we need to fill in the draft. And, we're a draft and develop team. The more picks we have, the better. But if there's an opportunity to move up and strike, if the board kind of recommends it, then we won't be afraid to pull the trigger on that either.
Okay, so when he says move up, he's talking about later rounds. You can't get it up anymore if you're picking third because the Commanders are going to pick a quarterback at 2, and obviously the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams at 1. So you're talking about him saying we're open for business in the first round. To me, that was a signal. Give me your best and final offers here as we are headed down the back stretch here before the first round kicks off.
Yeah, I wonder, it's funny, I read it differently. When I hear the GM, Elliott Wolf's got some weird title there. When he comes on and says, we may trade, like, they're outright lying in their press conference, right? I mean, that can't be real, right? Like, I mean, what is it? In my sense, like, what GM would come up in the press conference in front of the media and say something that's real?
Well, did you believe it when the Cardinals did it? What was his name? Monty Ossenford came out and said, we're open for business. And everyone said, they're open for business. Well, you don't believe it now.
But I just think it's going to be really hard for them to make this trade. And I like what you said. Maybe it's like the last, listen, we're not getting the offers we want. Yeah. We'll put this out there. I don't know why they would need to do it with the media. But it does feel to me like the Patriots, if they were going to move out of that pick, like when? Here's the question. Are they waiting to see who goes number 2 and then deciding to move out? Because then I can't imagine they get the same deal. These blockbusters have usually happened pretty soon. So I think they're going to get stuck with this number 3. I think they're asking for the moon. And I don't think anyone's giving them the moon to get up to this 3.
Well, you're going to have desperate teams, I think, that are going to trip over themselves to try to get to that third spot if it is indeed open. You're talking about the Broncos, you're talking about the Minnesota Vikings, and you're talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, these are 3 teams that are stacked back to back to back with each other in the first round who have no real plan at quarterback. Now, the Vikings are the obvious choice because they've already positioned themselves with another first round pick. So when you do that kind of thing and you arm yourself with another first rounder, and you need a quarterback, it feels like you are trying to make a maneuver here.
Yeah, but why haven't they done it yet?
Well, that's maybe this is the last and finals, because if you feel like you're holding a bit of a lottery ticket with that third, because we've talked to a lot of different people about these 3 quarterbacks, and you and I obviously watch them in college very closely. It feels like there is a Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye, and then the next tier starts with J.J. McCarthy. Right. Now, he could still go 4, right? It might happen. But the top 3 guys are in one class and caliber, and then the J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix are in another caliber.
Right, but let's not forget the reality that you've sort of been saying all along. The Patriots have Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zappi at quarterback.
Yeah.
They need a quarterback.
Yes.
So it doesn't make any sense in that sense for them to move off of 3, so they must be asking for so much.
Okay. There might be another explanation for this, because I was thinking about that too. We're talking about the Patriots general manager came out yesterday and said we're open for business in the first round. It got people talking. Okay, maybe the Patriots are really trying to move out of that 3rd overall pick. Maybe they feel like they've got so many holes they've got to fill. They're in this rebuild mode, right after Belichick has left and all of that. Gerard Mayo was back at the owners' meetings in March. So that's not that long ago. We're talking about last month.
Yeah.
And he said, quarterback is a priority for us, but you have to be in love with a guy if you're going to take him 3rd. Is it possible if they trade out of this pick that their evaluation is telling them something different than what we've been led to believe, that this class is so stacked at the top with QBs? Is it possible that they are not in love with whoever the 3rd guy is? If it's going to be Jayden Daniels or it's going to be Drake Maye, maybe they're not. Maybe their evaluation is not showing what everyone else's is.
So, okay, what if they like J.J. McCarthy? Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network said on his famous conference call that if the Patriots do trade out of 3, they don't want to go too low because they still want to get McCarthy. So what about that option? Try and trade to, say, 8 or something, where they trade, say, with Minnesota 11, then trade back up to get McCarthy. Because there's also thought that McCarthy falls to the Vikings flat out at 11, that they don't even need to trade to get to him. If McCarthy's the guy, he's going to be way easier to get than Drake Maye or Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like the McCarthy going 4 or people tripping over themselves to get McCarthy, I always thought that was a little bit of a draft convention. Just because of what we watched from him in college. He's a great winner, but didn't have like a full almost evaluation because he was asked to do so little. I think that'd be hard to pull off for a first-time GM doing this in the big chair for the first time. Like, how cute can you really get here? Because we're talking about the Patriots, and everyone in the building is doing this post-Belichick. Now, Belichick was running the draft. Now, he had his scouts and assistants, but like, it was him, you know. I'm wondering how many fingerprints are going to be on this pick, and does a guy who's doing this in this big chair for the first time, is he going to be able to really pull off what he thinks he's going to be able to pull off? Because, again, it's going to look bad if you get jumped over, if you get oopsie-dooped, if you get, you know, if something goes wrong, this is your first draft, you wanted to come away with a quarterback, you got too cute, you didn't do it, you could have just taken the guy when you're sitting there at 3. Is there like a real life part of that might make that a little trickier to pull
I don't
off?
know. It feels like Elliot Wolf's been around forever, though. I mean, his dad is Ron Wolf, the famous team builder. I don't think Elliot Wolf is scared of this stuff. He was really high up with the Packers. He was not quite running the show there, but he was as high as you got. So
Gutekunst and Murphy are the highest.
Yeah, but I don't think Elliot Wolf will not be scared about this because he's been in those circles for a long time.
I'm wondering if there's a little apprehension just the year past Belichick.
Yeah.
You know that you need a quarterback. You're sitting there at 3.
So you go 3.
So you just take him at 3.
Right. You know? I hear what you're saying. But yeah, that's why I don't think there's anything to be trade. But they're probably holding out for 4 first-round picks or something crazy. I don't even, 11 and 24, that's not going to do it. You need way more than that.
The next year's 1.
Yeah, I think Arizona would take 11 and 24 at number 4, but number 3, you got to get just a complete haul, maybe a player too, because you have such an empty roster. I honestly, which is safer, to go Drake Maye or Jayden Daniels at number 3, or to get a ton of first-round picks and build up the roster? You think it's safer just to stay number 3 and less risky?
I depend on their evaluation. Again, maybe they're seeing something that the other teams aren't. But I think I think teams will tell themselves, let's take the guy here. Yeah. Now we've got our guy. And we'll never have to do this again. And if he really hits, we'll be happy to pay him anyway. Yeah. Because I know people get scared off because these quarterback contracts are so big. But again, if you've got Patrick Mahomes or you have a Lamar was a little different. You have a Josh Allen. Joe Burrow, you're ponying up and you're happy to do it because you've got a franchise quarterback.
Right. I mean, the storyline with the Patriots all offseason has been like Bryce Young. That's the fear, right? You're going to bring Drake Maye there or probably Drake Maye. You bring him there, like it's not going to be good.
Right.
I mean, who's he throwing to? Nobody.
Right.
Who's protecting him? Who knows? They have to win games with defense like 13-10. This is not going to be a great quarterback spot. So I think that there's a fear we're going to ruin this guy. And you have, 5 years, maybe 4 years to win with a rookie quarterback? The Patriots might be saying there's no way we're going to win with this guy. That being said, I agree with you. I think that they're going to stick at 3. I wish I could bet on that one.
I know. I just don't see them pulling off this whatever. I don't. And I also think that Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft are going to have a say in this pick. I think that there's been, there was a lot of Belichick fatigue at the end, obviously, in New England. In amongst the ownership, and I think they want a little bit more say in how the end of Robert Kraft's tenure here with the Patriots, because he's an older guy. I think he wants a little bit of say about what's going to happen, and I think they want quarterback in the building now.
Yeah, I kind of worry that they like either Jayden Daniels or Drake Maye, one or the other, a lot more than the other. So what if the Commanders get the guy they want? Isn't that annoying if you're a Patriots fan and a Patriots executive, where you're stuck at 3 and you might have to wait till draft night to find out who's available? Or Does the information come out enough time for you to make a trade? Because you have, 15 minutes to make that deal? That would scare me. You said a first-time GM. Imagine Elliott Wolf really wants Drake Maye, and he goes number 2. Then he's like, oh, crap, now I have to trade out. Can he make all those calls fast enough?
Well, that's what you've hopefully been doing the last month. It's like coming up with that contingency plan if you don't love both of the guys.
Have it in place. That's a lot of pressure. That's why I'm like, get the deal done. If you're going to trade, do it now.
Could be like a Tua Justin Herbert situation, where if you're
just take either guy.
If you're the Chargers, you were kind of like, all right, we'll take Tua, we'll take Justin Herbert. We kind of like them both.
Yeah, that worked out great. No, I mean, it did. I'm not saying that sarcastically. That sort of worked out for both teams. I mean, it worked out better for the Chargers, but it didn't kill the Dolphins at all.
855-212-4227. As far as if this pick is open, and let's go through this, if the Patriots at 3 is open, who is the team that you think should go up there and trade to 3?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be Minnesota, obviously, because they're ready for a quarterback. They have sick receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. They have a good tight end. They have a really good offensive line. They have a great offensive coach, Kevin O'Connell. I don't know if he's a great head coach. I think he's a good head coach. He definitely knows how to run an offense. So everything's in place. Get the rookie quarterback. Boom, go. That's the team that has to do it.
Yeah, see, I'm actually thinking it's got to be someone like the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders are sitting there at 13. We haven't heard a ton, but they are a team that's going into the season with Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is a high-end backup quarterback, right? A very high-end backup quarterback. But you're telling me in the AFC West, you are not going to try to reload at this point when you have Devontae Adams on the roster now. You've got Max Crosby on the roster now. This is still his pieces. And you have Antonio Pierce, who is a defensive coach, obviously, but you took the interim tag off. You really got to hope if you're the Raiders that this is something that sticks. You want to give the best possible option for this coaching staff and whatever, all the fumigating, all the bad stuff that has happened in the building, starting with Gruden. And I know you got Rich Bisaccia and went to the playoffs, but that didn't end well. And then you went on to the Josh McDaniels, era, which just absolutely sucked. There should be a lot of pressure on the Las Vegas Raiders to get up and make this move. What are you waiting for?
Wow.
Derek Carr is gone. You had him for a long time. You didn't win jack with him. You've got to start this thing over, and Gardner Minshew's not going to be that guy.
Yeah, if I'm the agent for Drake Maye or Jayden Daniels, I would say no thank you. This is the funny that you said the Raiders, I'm like, oh, well, that's not going to work. That was my immediate instinct. They get Drake Maye, a somewhat developmental quarterback. Oh, boy, that seems tough. They are just, as a franchise, they are in a tough, nothing seems to go right for them under Mark Davis.
Well, you know what changes all those things? Getting a good quarterback, getting a little positivity in the building.
I don't know if it changes all those things. I think the problems run deeper with that team, personally. We'll see. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, why not just take the next guy lower on? Honestly, I think Michael Penix is so perfect for that team. Just throw those long balls to Devontae Adams if you can stay healthy. I think there's value lower on for the Raiders. Why do they have to go up and get Drake Maye? Is his timeline going to fit with Devontae Adams? I kind of doubt it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, nobody is going to fit. Devontae Adams being on this team feels like a little bit of an odd fit. So
bringing Penix is already 33 years old, according to most. He's already old enough that the downside of Michael Penix and Bo Nix is they're old. Bring in the old guy to play a couple years with Devontae Adams. Don't bring in the developmental guy.
See, I think it works both ways, though. You're only thinking at it, but what can this quarterback do for Devontae Adams? I'm asking, what can Devontae Adams do for this quarterback? You're talking about Drake Maye. The number one comp that he gets is who? Josh Allen.
Right.
And how much did Stefon Diggs help Josh Allen in his development? How much could Devontae Adams fast forward a rookie's development, and how much could he fast forward what Drake Maye can do? Because that's the other thing about Maye. He's got the huge arm. It's not just Michael Penix who throws the pretty ball. Drake Maye's got the big arm too.
Yeah.
And I think you can look at this as what can Maye do for Adams? What can Adams do for Maye?
Yeah, that feels like I've heard that player comp. It feels a bit rich. Kind of like Caleb Williams to Patrick Mahomes and Drake Maye to Josh Allen. Like, you're picking kind of the two best quarterbacks in the NFL. How come nobody ever comps to somebody who's a little bit lower? If Drake Maye goes to the Raiders, if they somehow got up there to 3 and got Drake Maye, I would be very nervous that all the timing of the young guys and the old guys would not work together. And I think, honestly, I'd be in the mainstream of that one. I don't think people would be predicting instant success for that team because it's been a long time, Maggie.
Listen, you have a guy in Tom Telesco who's now running that, veteran general manager. I know I'm not a huge fan either, but I could see him getting fired by the Chargers, feeling like you want to take a big swing here and come out of the gate with something really, really big. And we were talking about the Raiders last year trading up for a quarterback in that class. They didn't do it. So why not this year? Now you're just another year into this thing and you still have a need at QB.
Because you would gut your future draft picks if you try to move off this. Like, then it's, you might not be able to build anymore around Drake Maye. Okay. And then your old players like Crosby and Devontae Adams would be gone and you're kind of left with a cupboard bare for Drake Maye.
Yeah, but I don't think Adams and Crosby are gone now. Like, I still think I have maybe another 2 to 3 years with those guys. I'm not trading out 4 years of future draft picks here. I mean, I'm talking about maybe next year's 1.
You think next year's 1 and the 13th pick will get you to 3. That
might get me closer.
You might get 4. I don't know if you're getting 3. I think you have to give up even more than that.
Lots to do here on this Friday, 855-212-4227. Coming up later on in the show, DeMar Hamlin is set to join us. Bill's safety obviously went through this incredibly traumatic experience 2 years ago in Cincinnati, and now has become this inspiration for really anyone. I mean, people dealing with cardiac issues, and what DeMar Hamlin has just symbolized for the NFL has been nothing short but a miracle. We have that coming up at the 8 o'clock Eastern hour. Coming up next, audio you have to hear. There's just no way that this is like happened and we're all just sitting there and letting this just go by without acknowledging it. So we get to that next. It's Maggie and Perloff. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. All right. I went rogue, Maggie. I put up the poll myself. Instead of waiting for at Maggie and Perl, I went at Andrew Perloff. You can follow Maggie at Maggie Gray. If you're the Patriots, would you trade out from number 3 or take a quarterback? Here's what you get. If you got the Broncos.
Yeah.
A few years ago, the Niners traded up the Dolphins. They gave them the 12th pick and 2 future first-round picks. So that and some other stuff was involved. Some later picks were involved in the deal. That's a huge haul. The Patriots, if say they did it with the Raiders or the Broncos, those teams could be terrible. You could have top 10 picks galore over the next 3 years. I think that's tempting to me. If I'm a GM, I'm a trade out guy. I always want more picks. That's all. You know why? Because Bill Belichick seemed to build a dynasty on more picks. His best pick ever was more picks.
Yeah, but you want to know why that worked?
Tom Brady.
Yeah. So that's the question for the Patriots. You still haven't solved the biggest question you have to solve. Like, even their head coach said quarterback's a priority. You know, they're not saying, hey, Jacoby Brissett's got the job, everybody. Line up behind him.
But have you ever done a hypothetical, if you ever are lucky enough to get a genie in a bottle, what's the first thing you wish for?
More wishes?
More wishes,
I know, but they tell you can't do that.
Yeah, but
my kid's in an Aladdin phase
Well,
right
a lot of people set that ground rule, but if you don't set the ground rule, that's the first thing you're saying. And it's the NFL draft. There's no ground rules. You can get more wishes here. And if you're the Patriots, you stink at every level. I'm leaning now trade out. Because I think Drake Maye will take some time and Jayden Daniels could get hurt at any time. So I feel like there's no perfect solution here. Trade out, get 2 future firsts, maybe get a guy at 12 if you want to. Get a guy in the second round. What's the difference here?
So the reason why we're talking about the Patriots trading out of the 3rd pick is because their general manager is a guy by the name of Elliot Wolf, and he was speaking to the media yesterday and said they're open for business. And he said trade up, trade down, trade left, trade right. But this tradition of having general managers do press conferences before the draft is the dumbest exercise that we all are complicit in. This is the easiest layup for teams. Let's send the guy out there before the draft so he can say absolutely nothing.
You might as well have AI generate a bunch of words. You're right. It's meaningless.
And except when you get moments like this. Now, you mentioned AI generated. I swear to you, Perloff, I thought that's what happened when I heard this clip. This is the Jacksonville Jaguars general manager, Trent Baalke, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. This is him responding. I don't even know what the question was. I don't even care. Listen.
Still got a couple of days going through. Coach and I haven't sat down and gone through the final board yet.
Oh, dear God. Dear God.
Wait a minute. And the excuse me basically is the guilty. That's the guilt right there. Because if you don't say excuse me, you just go on. That could have been a squeaky shoe, a chair. We could blame it on the dog till the cows come home. You say, excuse me, you just ripped a fart.
But it sounds like, I don't understand, like, was his butt near the microphone?
I think it was just that robust.
I want to hear, like, the acoustics are interesting to me here, how he sort of projected that out towards that was incredible.
Let's do a little bit of an experiment here, because we have really good microphones. I know, Bogusch.
I don't know about what this experiment.
I'm leaving.
No, it's okay. You don't need a gas mask here. I'm just going to tell we have incredibly expensive, high-quality microphones here.
Yeah.
Let's see how far away I can get before you could hear me make a fart sound with my hands, right?
Okay, so you
now
have to.
I'm back like this.
No, but you you're doing it all wrong, Maggie. You're doing it all wrong because your trajectory is still straight into the mic. You have to get down on the ground, sit Indian style on the ground,
crisscross applesauce.
No,
they call it these days.
Yeah, now point. No, you can't point the mic down.
Yeah,
point like you're
hold
talking.
On. All right, wait. YouTube.com/CBS.
This wasn't Ace Ventura. He wasn't putting his butt towards the microphone.
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm sort of trying to get at. Do we have video of what actually happened?
Okay.
You need to get a little lower.
Okay, hold on. I'm on the floor now. Again, sorry. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet. If you okay, here we go. I'm sitting on the ground.
I have no idea. I'm just saying right now. You have to tell us on the other side of the glass.
Super audible.
Super audible.
Yeah, you can absolutely hear it.
I'm telling you, these mics these days, you are not hiding. They're really intense. So it might not have been that big of a pass gas, and he's just, I mean, it was loud.
But he made it obvious with the pause so he could rip it so the cheeks could spread, and then he goes, excuse me. Like, just totally just put the silence right there for that fart to be picked up.
Here's the thing. There's like,
my bad.
There's like a couple times, unless he's got some kind of IBS or something. Like if he's really got some disease, then I feel bad about this. But there's a couple times in your day when you just can't do that. The 15 minutes you're meeting with the media is one of those times. Can't do it.
That wasn't a good fart either. That didn't sound
He's
comfortable.
sick.
Wait. That was. You isolated the sound there.
That was the fart.
Can we hear the whole thing again, like extended?
Excuse me. Still got a couple of days going through. Coach and I haven't sat down and gone through the final.
That's a wet one, yet. Man. That's cleanup on aisle 6.
The guy's been watching tape 21 hours a day. I mean, that's
lay off the coffee.
I mean, that might be a good sign for your team. It's like, God, this guy doesn't even have time to let it rip before.
Change your
He couldn't even,
You mentioned the IBS.
He couldn't even
Maggie.
clear the chambers before he got up there. This guy is grinding
so
on tape.
He doesn't have a minute.
I don't even have time to fart.
He's got a caveman beard.
I had a professor in college that would just fart, like couldn't control it. It was the greatest class ever.
You never knew when it was coming. You just knew it was coming at some
It
point.
wasn't a matter of if. It was just a matter of when.
Did he have some kind of medical issue, though, obviously?
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of described it once. I couldn't care to pay attention. But
Was it a health class?
Yeah, it was like
it was actually like a glorified music class.
Yeah. Maybe he just didn't care.
Liberal arts college.
Maybe he was just like, I would respect that, just not even caring and just letting it go.
I would love to get to a point in life where I don't care.
It's called
who's
aging.
around me. Just
the old guy, yeah.
It's called being 80, or something like that. You'll get there. Don't worry.
Or
God
Sean
willing,
Morash.
You'll get there. What's that, Pete?
Or Sean Morash.
Yeah. Or, you just don't care about anything. Tough to have that one on your resume.
Yeah, the excuse me was a mistake.
Like you could have powered through it, talk while you're doing it, and maybe it could be suffocated.
Now, I saw a little of this on social media. Ha ha, no wonder Jim Harbaugh didn't want to work with him. I'm like, see, I don't think that would have turned Harbaugh off.
No, it feels like that.
I feel like that might be right up Harbaugh's alley.
No, I
The
totally
football
agree.
decisions are why Harbaugh doesn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
You think Harbaugh would have wanted a sniff?
No, it's just like you don't want to draft. That's awful.
Come here, let me get that.
Athletic
It's like,
rep.
who's got it better than us? Everybody. I think they didn't like that he kept drafting guys who were injured.
I think the fart was probably his best thing on his resume.
It's not his worst, that's for sure.
Oh, my
I know.
goodness.
People in San Francisco are like, that explains a lot.
I mean, people in Jacksonville must be wondering, why is this guy our GM? I mean, that's come across a lot of people's minds.
Before yesterday.
Yeah, before yesterday.
Well, he won't be if they don't make the playoffs again.
This is actually a weirdly positive thing for Trent Baalke. This is like actually
a misdirection.
Yeah, it's a great misdirection. We won't focus on, passing on Aiden Hutchinson.
He's really going to
gas.
Great, really going to great lengths there to change the narrative.
Did he hire Urban Meyer? I can't remember the timing. I think he did.
That's not good.
I mean, honestly, this is way better than hiring Urban Meyer to coach your NFL team.
I think that was a Shad Khan situation.
Yeah.
I think that came from ownership.
Yeah, he was there. Oh boy.
No wonder employees feel like they can rip the entire franchise off for millions and millions of dollars. This is like one of your highest level executives is just ripping a fart right before the draft.
It sounds worse the more you hear it.
It's getting louder. Bogusch has headlines. Good luck topping that.
Yeah, thanks. The Patriots, they say, as you guys began the show, they're open for business at number 3 in next Thursday's first round. The Giants sit 3 spots behind them. Maybe they're looking for their next quarterback, or maybe Joe Schoen rides with Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito.
With, Drew's experience, he started games and played, and, Daniel's experience, and then what Tommy did last year, another year in the system. Tommy's come a long way, so no, I think we could go in with the season with the 3 that we have, and I'd be comfortable with that.
Now, with all due respect to Misters Locke and DeVito, this is about Daniel Jones. The doubts about his long-term future continue. There was a point this offseason where Rich Eisen said on his radio show the Giants were over Jones. Shane says that's not the case.
There's stuff out there all the time that's not true, and you really can't let it bother you. I've got a good relationship with Daniel, and we communicate all the time. He's here all the time, so we've got a good relationship and we communicate well. And if he has an issue or hears something or something that I think I need to talk to him about, we do that often.
And last but not least,
like I've said before, the expectation is for him to be our starter. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I hope he doesn't have any setbacks. He's working his tail off
from a torn ACL that cut short last season. Another injury, which is part of the reason why maybe Jones is not the guy for the Giants.
I mean, a neck injury, and now you got the ACL.
Farting.
I don't know about Jones.
Daniel Jones farts?
There was a moment in there when he's like, I communicate with him all the time. I mean, he's here every day. Can't get rid of this guy. Tried to change his key card. We took away his parking spot. It keeps showing up.
Well, and last week when Jones spoke, he had the weird, bugged out eyes. So imagine that guy sitting in the corner of your office every day just looking at you, waiting for more love and affection.
I did. It was called Adam Gase.
Yeah, that was a little different. Bogusch, you're a newsman, but you're also a Giants fan.
Sure.
You want them to get a new quarterback?
I think Daniel Jones is replaceable. I don't want J.J. McCarthy to be the replacement specifically. That feels like just redoing the whole Daniel Jones scenario.
Got it.
So at this point, I would rather them, because Shane also said yesterday that, again, this is what can you believe, that a surprising amount of teams have called him about trading up to number 6. That makes sense. Taking one of these stud wide receivers as your last gift to Daniel Jones makes sense as well. But as long as it's not J.J. McCarthy, to oversimplify things, that's all I care about.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny because Peter Schrager, who's really good at this, NFL Network, had the Giants trading up from 6 to 4
to get McCarthy,
like 4 days ago to get McCarthy. And since then, because I read every mock draft, now McCarthy's falling like a lead balloon, and people think there's no way that the Giants are going up. Maybe it's because of what Shane said. But I heard Daniel Jeremiah did its big conference call that everyone keeps quoting. He said, I highly do not expect the Giants to take a quarterback, which is so boring, by the way. Like, if you're not taking a quarterback, what are you doing at number 6 in the draft?
That's all right. Sometimes the flashy Giants drafts are not exactly what you want. I don't know if Saquon Barkley at 2, that got a lot of publicity, and I don't know if that was the right pick. Anyway.
We've got Chargers GM Joe Ortiz saying yesterday he could trade number 5, but shockingly, you'll have to knock him off his feet with your offer. He's not interested in a fair trade, so he wants to swindle you for number 5.
I like his thinking. Right? Yeah, it's like fantasy football.
I'm glad he told us all that.
Yeah, you guys all have that guy in your league. He's like, I'll give you... I'll give you... Oh, you that guy who tries...
That guy.
Yeah. You say, I'll give you KJ Osborne. You give me Cooper Kupp.
Exactly. Sometimes it
People
works.
hate you. You realize that. They
Sometimes
hate you
it
in the league.
works.
It's worth it.
Does it work?
Yeah, sometimes.
No, the what you have to always do is you always have to target the newest person.
That's
I'm talking
what I
about the NFL, or maybe fantasy too.
This is my profile in fantasy.
The new guy.
The new guy doesn't know what's going on. You go after the best player they have on the team.
This goes back to yesterday. Political strategist Pete Bellotti.
That's
You know how to
right.
work a room. You know how to find the weak spots.
Also, / cult leader. This also works for that. Find the most vulnerable person, the newest person, someone who's a little on their heels, a little off kilter.
I'll have RFK winning the state. I'll tell you, it may not win the whole election, but it will state.
Which state? This one? No.
I wish EJ was here this morning. We've got Sixers backup forward Paul Reed taking shots at his Knicks ahead of Game 1 at the Garden Saturday.
Yeah, we wanted the Knicks matchup, of course. That's the easier team.
That's Reed on FanDuel TV
Get
saying
lost.
well, again, I would love this to be a big thing, but this is the only thing. Like, no one thought the Sixers should tank the play-in game like the Lakers to avoid anybody. Like, this is the only thing to say. This is not actual trash talk. This is just reality.
It comes from a bum on the bench, too.
Well, right. But they won the game to be the 7th seed to face the Knicks and not the Celtics. No duh.
Right.
Wow.
Why was this even a question?
Yeah, well, luckily you do have another Knicks fan here, Bogusch, and Paul Reed's got a lot of trouble coming his way now.
From you?
Yeah, he's got a lot of trouble trying to figure out how to play basketball.
Wow.
He could have orchestrated a PR answer. You know, they're good. They're both great teams. We obviously wanted to win our game, and he goes, of course we want the Knicks. All right, bet.
I'm going to be honest.
Come on.
Because our former boss, Spike Eskin, had like a small infatuation with Paul Reed and B-Ball Paul. I've heard 2 interviews with Paul Reed that he's done, which is way more than I ever thought I'd listen to.
By 3.
Paul Reed's not thinking about anything. Like, he's just out there off the cuff. This is not Pete being a political strategist. He's just talking.
Well, Paul Reed's going to be playing 40 minutes a night when the Knicks knock Embiid out of the series.
He might.
Yeah.
That's true.
So on Game 1
Called gravity is knocking and beat out of the. They don't even need the Knicks to just stand there and watch them fall.
I said Embiid's a big sneeze away from being out for another year.
We are the New York Knicks. Maggie said we're not allowed to talk about the series, but how are the odds even on that series? That's insane. Does anyone know Joel Embiid has one leg?
Yeah,
This is
Sixers
crazy.
are actually priced as a small favorite when I checked yesterday.
Amazing.
So that's a big bet for me.
Wow.
Right? Like, Bogusch, you had the same reaction I did. Like, what?
Well, I mean, I guess do you start with the fact that they're 33-8 when Embiid plays? Is
Yeah,
that
I guess
what
so.
we're banking on?
He's
Embiid
not
is-
healthy. He's not healthy.
They won their last 8 regular season games.
Okay, and who did they play? Half the team's probably out of it. They played the Thunder without their best 2 players.
I'm telling you, Embiid's knee brace looks like he's playing offensive line for Ohio State. That
It's
thing
huge.
is so big.
That's why I bet against the Sixers because that size of that knee brace. That's exactly my thing. I'm like, you can't possibly dominate when I have that knee brace at home for my little sprain. You can't even move in that thing.
Is that a hard cast?
That's a system play for Perloff. If the knee brace is bigger than 6 inches in diameter, bet the other side.
I mean, yeah, I love it. There's all these NBA analysts like. Even we can analyze it. Jimmy Butler can't walk, and Giannis is hurt, and Embiid is hurt. So what are we doing here, people? Why? This is obvious. Why are we overthinking and doing analytics? Like, you need your stars to have both knees intact. That's all I'll say.
New York Knicks.
We are the New York Knicks.
I see what you're doing, though. You're trying. You're.
That's what everyone says. No, I actually am watching the obvious reality in front of me.
I also had a thought yesterday.
Making Pat nervous, it looks like.
Bam! Ewing dunks in your face.
When Pete gave you the Pistons as your new team, didn't we also decree that you could never get back on the Sixers bandwagon?
Pete,
that was part of it.
Pete, is that the way it works?
That's correct. So you're breaking the rules, but I'm allowing this because the Sixers stink.
He just wants me to have a bad team.
He wants you to be a fan now so
Right.
that the Knicks can crush your team and that he can celebrate.
NBA
Also,
Finals.
congrats to Perloff for not wearing 76ers gear for the first day today. You made it to
Well,
Friday. Did you just run out of stuff?
Yes, basically. I have
Dr. J undies on?
I don't know. It's not even.
Dr. J to wear
It's not even to wear Sixers. Like they fit really well. These 2 Sixers sweatshirts I have. But here, meanwhile, Pat, you're like you have every weird team in the league. He's a Browns fan.
Not true.
But you have all these bizarre. You're a Knicks fan. Why don't you pick a better team?
What do you mean, pick a better team?
I mean, if you're going to bandwagon,
I
why
was
the
born
New York
in
Knicks?
'94, so my youngest days of knowing basketball were when the Knicks were just coming off the high of being, a
Second best
contender.
team of the Bulls?
Well, yes, a contender though every year, and then
a lot of yada yada in between.
Yeah, 2 decades of mediocrity.
Can I get a new team, Pete?
No.
How about the Denver Nuggets?
No. Absolutely not.
What else we got, Bogusch?
Fired Louisville men's basketball coach Kenny Payne's reuniting with John Calipari as Arkansas's associate head coach. Payne was on Cal's Kentucky staff for 10 years before taking that Cardinals job. Together, they won a national title, made 4 Final Fours in one 5-year span. Just one night baseball game. The Giants blanked the D-backs 5-zip. Just 2 hours and 12 minutes. Logan Webb allowed just 2 hits, 1 walk over 7. And the NHL regular season finally ended last night. 4 days of season-ending games, Monday through Thursday. The Kings snuck past Chicago 5-4 in overtime. The Golden Knights lose to Anaheim 4-1, so LA finishes third in the Pacific Division, faces Edmonton in round 1. Vegas drops into the second wildcard spot, has to deal with top-seeded Dallas. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. You want to listen to the show? So many ways to do it. We are on the absolutely free to download Odyssey app, SiriusXM channel 158, our incredible Infinity Sports affiliates, and also youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. Coming up, we check in with who else? Deion Sanders.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Daily.
Do you believe that?
Deion.
You believe that?
Checking in with Deion Sanders as we do almost daily. A lot of headlines, Perloff, about how many players the Colorado Buffaloes are losing in the transfer portal. Deion Sanders downplaying that.
I wish you guys do a little more homework when you start talking about the portal and understand what we losing. What are we losing? I got time today. What are we losing? Potential. Where? You haven't been watching practice, huh? Amen. We good. I trust the recruiting team. I trust our coaches. And please have some faith in me. We good. We all right.
All right, so Deion's got it. Don't worry. Got Shiloh and Shador out there asking people to DM them if they'd like to come to Colorado, just right out there on Instagram. I think the big question, Perloff, is, Deion did an unprecedented roster turnover in year one, where he basically went into an entire season with all transfers. Is that a sustainable model? Deion also said he doesn't really go to and take a lot of high school visits, and he said he can't go to one high school because then if he doesn't go to the next one and the next one and the next one, it really offends people and it can turn people off. So he just wants high school recruits to come to him. Can you do this in an all transfer model, or do you need to be recruiting out of high school to win in college football?
I think not only do I think you can win that way, I think you're going to have to, because it doesn't seem like every player transfers now. And I think one of the reasons they're forced to transfer is because when you transfer, you can get a new NIL deal. So basically, it's like free agency.
Or you could re-up your current NIL deal.
Right. You can get more money. Basically, if you come in as a freshman and you have a big NIL deal, fine, you may hit or not. But say you're a 3-star recruit and you end up being good, then you can get an NIL deal. And I assume once you go out on the open market, that's a version of free agency. So you might have an incentive to switch teams. The older teams are going to win in college football. So if everybody's out there transferring, you want the older players. Why would you want the high school players? It seems, and this has obviously happened to some extent in college basketball, where older teams started to win, and the 5-star high school recruits did nothing in the tournament. So I think this formula kind of, if you pull it back, I'm not saying it'll work with Deion, but I think you got to lean toward the transfers.
But here's the question. In basketball, it's 5-on-5. And if you have one really good player, they can impact the game so much. This is, how many guys are on a college football roster? Like 100?
But how much development are you really doing between freshman year and senior year? It's not. They're only going to be there 3 or 4 years anyway. So what's the difference? Get him in for 1 year. Maybe he's well trained at the smaller school. He comes in. They have an all new offensive line. To me, that's exciting because I saw their offensive line last year. Good riddance.
Yeah,
I agree with Deion. You saw them in Pac-12 play. Is there anyone that they're, except for Shador and Hunter, that they really care about? I think this is all good.
So that's your daily Deion. If you zoom it out, just not from what Deion's doing, but I think there is a lot of pressure on Deion to, up that win total a little bit from 4 last year to, I don't know, do you double it? Is that the right expectation? Maybe go to 8 wins, at least be bowl eligible. But here's the question. If you are always turning over your roster a lot in the portal, and I'm not just talking about Deion now, I'm talking about every team, can you gel enough in one season? Are you ever going to have something that's sustainable where you are a Georgia or you are an Alabama or you do get to keep guys for a little bit, at least 2 years? I don't, just this formula just doesn't doesn't seem right. I still think you need the high school recruits. I still think there's a part of that that's important.
Okay, but if I was going to ask you, say which scenario seems more likely? There's a guy who comes out of high school and spends 3 years at one college and is a number one overall pick in the NFL draft, or there's a guy who transferred and took off at a second school and then is a number one pick in the NFL. Which do you think is more likely?
I mean, the second scenario is what we see a lot more of.
Yes, that's what's been happening. Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, now Caleb Williams will be the number one pick. Everybody's going to transfer. It's a reality of the situation. I don't think this draft and develop. It's not draft and develop.
Yeah,
recruit and develop.
Recruit and develop. Yeah.
I just don't think that works anymore because you put all this work into the young guys and then they're going to leave for a better deal. Which is, NIL is not perfect. It was supposed to be marketing money. Now it's become quasi free agency. So I understand why colleges are upset about this. The other thing, they just took all the guardrails off transferring, so everybody can transfer anytime they want. I don't think you have a choice, Maggie. I don't think you can recruit the high school guys and win anymore.
So Perloff just mentioned that two different things that came down in the last 2 days with regards to college sports and how they're going to be in the future. One, as Perloff said, there are now no guardrails on transferring multiple times. Basically, the only guardrail is you have to be academically eligible. So if you've got to be academically eligible and working towards a degree, that's for undergrad. For grad school transfers, it's still the same. You had to have graduated from college. You have to be in good academic standing and be working towards a grad degree. Did you guys also see this came down yesterday, which is Virginia passed a state law scheduled to take effect July 1st. It's the first in any state to make it illegal for the NCAA to punish the school for compensating athletes for their NIL rights. So basically, what they're saying is, in Virginia, they want the school to pay the player, not the collective, not the boosters, actually the school. That schools in Virginia will be able to directly pay athletes for name, image, and likeness deals thanks to this state law that's signed Thursday morning. Now, again, this is diametrically opposed to what the NCAA is saying. So I don't know which rule and law wins out. Is it the state rule? Is it the NCAA rule? I'm not sure, but that's a domino.
Well, right, but effectively they've been doing that anyway. Collectives does that change anything
I think it does,
on the ground?
I think it does because we talk about whether athletes can be employees of the school. So if you're paying them directly from the school, well, that sounds a lot like an employee to me.
Yeah, I mean, right. But legally, are they going to? I guess you're getting into. So you think, to me, what you're saying is you're getting one step closer to just fully professionalizing the whole thing.
I mean, I think this is probably, when we look back, is going to end up being a significant domino. I just don't know how far it's going to go.
I think the big one was that the courts let a team unionize, so now you're going to have collective bargaining. That'll be the big thing, and I think it's coming, and it kind of makes sense because NIL. I don't want to, I hate when people rail against NIL because I rail against NIL because it's disorganized, not because the players are getting paid. I want them to get paid. I just think that this sort of course, because it's college football, we're doing this black market thing where we're saying it's marketing and it's not marketing. It's just free agency. So, but by the way, I looked at the Heisman odds for next year. There's only one or two guys who aren't transfers. I mean, that's
who's leading the Heisman odds?
So Carson Beck's number one. According to this DraftKings, Carson Beck's one. He's not a transfer. Quinn Ewers transferred. Dylan Gabriel transferred. Jalen Milroe not transferred. Will Howard, Jackson Dart, Garrett Nussmeier, DJU, Cam Ward, Riley Leonard, all transfers. So it's transfer. I mean, I'm focusing just on quarterback, but I think Deion can win this way. It's going to take some time.
Well, I think the question is when you see, and we're going to talk to Tom Fornelli later on in the show, but when you see Deion just going, and he covers college football for CBS Sports and CBS Sports HQ, when you see Deion just going transfer, and kind of build that way, does it make you wonder how long a guy's really going to be around in this college program, right?
Right.
Is that fair to question?
You mean the players or Deion himself?
Deion himself.
Oh, yeah, I know. Because he's Deion, and he's such a big star, and it was great last year, but it feels like weird to have him staying in Boulder. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and no, I do not think he's going to be there that long.
Do you think this is his last year at Colorado?
I wonder about that because his kids are leaving. I got to admit, I do have a really deep fear that he's going to abandon the program. But, he's saying all the right things. What do you think?
I think that I believe, maybe this might be wrong of me, and it could come back to bite me. I believe Deion doesn't want to coach in the NFL.
Oh, I agree with you on that.
I do believe that.
But do you think he'll stay at Colorado and not do another college job?
No, I think with these bigger jobs are going to become open, and I think Colorado's been awesome, but I wonder if finally someone will convince him, hey, we'll give you the keys to the castle and come coach in the SEC or whatever. 855-212-4227. Coming up, expectations for LeBron.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Major implications for one of the league's biggest stars. That'd be LeBron James. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It is a rematch between the Lakers and the Nuggets in round one of the NBA playoffs, Perloff. This was a team the Lakers took out in 2020 on the way to their title in the bubble. They took out the Nuggets. Nuggets returned the favor last year in the Western Conference Finals, swept out the Lakers on the way to their first title, and here they are meeting again. Now listen, I know that the Nuggets are the heavy favorites here. They're a 7-point favorite in game one, and that's obviously in their home floor Saturday night. But to say that LeBron has zero expectations going into this series, I think just sort of dismisses what LeBron, his whole career has been about. You know, he has a good team with Anthony Davis, who's healthy right now. These are some hand-picked pieces that he put around, and a team that was built, rebuilt, and rebuilt to try to continue to win. So why shouldn't there be expectations just because you're going up against the defending champs? I mean, it's still LeBron and Anthony Davis. That duo is as good as it gets in the NBA.
It's not, because as good as it gets is Nikola Jokic and any other player. It's a better combo. They've lost 8 straight to them. They have done this brilliant genius thing. LeBron planned this all along. I'm going to drop 8 straight, so I'm going to be this plucky underdog in this series, and no one's going to kill me if we lose. Honestly, how can you kill LeBron and AD when you're going against the best team in the league? That I understand what you're saying. He's 39, Maggie. I think you're ignoring that fact. Yes, prime LeBron and prime AD, they can go up against anybody. But I'm sure you feel the same way about the series as I do and most people do. It'd be a huge upset to win this. So if that's the case, then how can you kill LeBron for losing?
Let's hear from LeBron James talking about the rematch with the Nuggets. He's downplaying everything.
I think you put a little bit too much more emphasis on it. This is our first round matchup, and we look forward to the postseason. But I haven't been looking forward to the rematches. The game is played, obviously played, and this is the matchup, so we look forward to that challenge.
Okay, so if the Lakers get swept again or lose in 5 games or gentleman sweep, whatever you want to call it, then this is a massive wake-up call for LeBron, because this is probably the wake-up call of, I'm not winning another one with the Lakers. I'm not winning another title with Anthony Davis because he's healthy. He had a great season this year. And if this isn't good enough, and this is a good Laker team, if this isn't good enough and doesn't get you even close to the Nuggets, then you're just basically wasting years at the end, not being a real title contender. So I think there's a lot of pressure here, maybe not just on LeBron, but I guess the Lakers in general, because if they get swept, why wouldn't he look somewhere else? Why wouldn't he try to go somewhere else? Why wouldn't he say, listen, I'm out of here. I'm going to go team up with Steph Curry. I'm going to go team up with somebody. I'm going to go with Luka, whatever it is, to try to get another title. Because sitting here is a fool's errand if no one thinks they have a shot.
I think the wake-up call should be opening up his wallet and looking at his driver's license and realizing he's 40 years old. A wake-up call is when you're 28 and you're Giannis or somebody and said, wait, I don't know if I can win another one here in Milwaukee. That's a wake-up call.
Right.
He's fully aware of how old he is, and they're the 7 seed. I mean, it's not like he is expecting to win a title. I know LeBron is always expecting to win a title, but I don't think he's thinking about it like that. I think he knows they're legit underdogs. I don't think he was like, well, this is my year. I don't think that thought ever crossed his mind.
Well, he played 71 games this year.
Right.
I think he's going to end up making one of the All-NBA team, the third team All-NBA. It's not like he's turning in these clunker seasons where
he's still good.
He's the 5th guy on the bench, and it's like, man, remember LeBron's glory days? He's still one of the best players in the league.
But do you think if they lose to the Nuggets, he's going to look back and say, man, I thought this was a year? I think he's realistic enough to know they have a major matchup problem against the Nuggets. And it's unfortunate they get him in the first round because it would have been nice to see him in the conference finals, but they don't know how to cover Jokic at all. Their best player offensively at stretches this year was D'Angelo Russell, who can't cover anybody on the Nuggets. They have all sorts of problems with this matchup, but LeBron knows that. I think he knows that they got swept last year. I don't think that he's saying to himself, gosh, we better win the title.
Yeah, I mean, this is why a lot of people floated the idea around. Now, it's, totally flies in the face of competitive anything, but that the Lakers would have been better off losing to the Pelicans, playing what would have been now the Sacramento Kings, we know, to try to get in and be the 8th seed to play the Oklahoma City Thunder as opposed to being the 7th seed and playing the 2nd seeded Denver Nuggets. We're talking about expectations for the Lakers and LeBron. So here's another question I have for you. Not to fast forward too much here, but let's say this goes the way that you and Vegas and most people believe this is going to go, with the Lakers having an early exit. What do you think is the more likely scenario? Do you think that LeBron would then look around and leave, or do you think he would look around and say, you got to trade Anthony Davis and we've got to try to do this in a different way? Like, LeBron's always kind of plotting something because he doesn't want to waste years of his career. I still think that he's chasing Michael Jordan, no matter what anyone says. Trying to add a 5th ring would be massive. What do you think is the more likely outcome?
I think he already made his decision. That I think he knew his championship window probably closes now or last year. I think he decided, I want to be in LA. I want to make films. I want to play with my son. I don't think he's going to manipulate the situation to chase a ring. I think those other things, I mean, I hate to say it, I think those other things are more important. I think he stays with the Lakers. Because also, too, it's really hard to find, with a salary cap and everything, to find that easy spot. He might have 1 or 2 years left. Remember he gave that interview where he said the end is near?
Yeah.
With Miami, it took him 2 years to get to the title. I don't think he thinks, oh, man, I could immediately go 1 year and get a title. That's not an easy situation. First of all, he's 40. He's expensive. Like, where's he going to go that guarantees a ring? I think he stays in L.A. and sort of shifts around his priorities.
Man, show bet. Disagree.
Okay.
I think LeBron's going to play for another team before all is said and done, because I think he looks at this and says, I think he wants to look back when his career is all said and done and be able to either say to himself or say to other people, you could never accuse me of ever taking a season off or ever mailing it in or ever not being all in on winning. I think that's the one thing. Again, we always go back to this Michael Jordan thing, but that's the one thing where it's like Jordan was always focused. Winning is the only thing. And I think LeBron also wants to show, and I think this is his nature, that winning is also his thing. And I could see him doing a year or two in Dallas. I could see him doing a year or two. Golden State feels a little bit like a stretch, but I can squint and I could see it. I could see him doing a year or two somewhere else. I don't know about your 76ers, but like something else to just try to give it one more huge push. And I could absolutely see that. And
I don't know that those two teams you just mentioned are better spots than the Lakers. Like Dallas, he'd have to share the ball with Luka. I don't know how that happens. And then Golden State's getting even older than the Lakers. I think the Lakers have a better supporting cast. They have Anthony Davis. What does Golden State have? Steph.
And again, but if they get swept by the Nuggets, if they lose in 5 to the Nuggets, I think it shows, and you've said it, that there's no path here. There's no path for LeBron to win another title if 2 years in a row you are not competitive against one of the league's best teams.
So the other thing about LeBron's legacy that I think hurts him is that he had to join Miami to win a title. I don't think he wants a bus passenger label here. I think one of the reasons that people put Jordan over LeBron is because Jordan did it with the Bulls, built the team around him, didn't join other stars. So I think he'd look weaker if he joined a super team and won a title. That's going to be kind of like Kevin Durant had the same problem by going to Golden State. That would be a problem legacy-wise. Jordan people would jump all over that.
Yeah, for some reason, I think LeBron's kind of gotten rid of that. He shed that because
why bring it back this year?
Well, I think the Cleveland title kind of put that a little bit to rest for people, right?
But if he joined a super team this year, it would come back very hard.
I don't know. He doesn't really get accused of being a bus rider, though. That really is what Barkley said about Durant. And I don't think LeBron gets that kind of smoke. We could talk about it for sure, but I think he would just say, listen, what would you do? And again, this is all predicated on whether or not the Lakers can be competitive against the Nuggets. If they cannot be competitive, I think LeBron's always been looking for greener pastures, always been looking for the next move. And even though he will be 40 and that is older, I think he still sees himself as a great player. He is a great player still, and would say, why wouldn't I still be trying to figure out my next move on the chessboard?
Because he's 40. I don't know.
Doesn't play like he's 40.
Just settle. Yeah,
he's got the gray in his hair and a little bit in his beard, which is a little odd.
I just
to
think
see,
that
but
you look at the teams at the top. If he really wants to play and guarantee a title, he has to go to Boston or Denver or some gigantic team, and that will look bad.
I don't know, Boston or Denver, but I think the other part too is, remember when Tom Brady went to Tampa?
Yeah,
right?
that is a totally different situation.
No, the only thing I'm going to bring up is that Tom Brady went there and made like $20 million. And he was not being paid at the top of the market.
Right.
Brady never really was getting paid at the top of the market, but he was like the 15th or 16th highest paid quarterback, which is ridiculous, but he was willing to do that because he wanted to try to win another title. I could see LeBron doing the same thing. He can't take the veteran minimum, but he could take less.
Brady went to a 7-9 team, and you don't need athleticism to play quarterback like you do basketball. There's no way that LeBron's going to go to a 500 team and win a title. He's got to go to guarantee a title. He has to go to such a good team, because otherwise, like, how are you going to knock off the Nuggets? How are you going to knock off the Celtics unless you're on a sort of a super team?
Well, that's why I bring up Dallas.
Yeah, maybe Dallas. I see what you're saying, but even doesn't that feel like a dicey situation?
Dude,
Dallas has added superstars before. It hasn't gone anywhere.
I feel like I could see Dallas with LeBron and Draymond like doing one of those kinds of things where they figure that out, and it's like a LeBron, Draymond, Luka, Kyrie. It's like crazy.
Oh my
it's
God.
Total insanity.
Denver would wipe the floor with that team. Don't you think? I mean, you would have to deal with a front line of Jokic, Porter, and Murray, and you have a bunch of old non-defensive players. Can you imagine? Who would you exploit first on that team defensively?
I'm just saying. Well, I mean, I was told Draymond Green was one of the greatest defenders of our generation, so I don't know.
Yeah, but he can't cover Jokic. So that, height actually matters now in the playoffs. I just think that this sounds good in theory, but he will get killed if he tries to join a team that legitimately gives him a shot to win a title. And that, to me, the best two teams, he should go to Boston. If you're going to try and win, join Tatum and Brown and KP and all those guys and Drew Holiday. That's a good team. But they would probably criticize him.
Boston feels a little bit like a stretch.
And also, too, doesn't he have an old rivalry with them?
That's what I'm saying. I think Boston feels like a stretch, but any team really in the Western Conference, who has a shot, I could see it. Why not? 855-212-4227. So that's our question here. Expectations for the Lakers against the Nuggets is one part. And then if the Nuggets sweep the Lakers or gentlemen sweep the Lakers, winning 4-1, is LeBron leave? Again, this is the best shot you're throwing at the Nuggets. And if you don't even come close, what's he doing on this team? Or trade Anthony Davis, maybe try to do something else and retool and reload. But LeBron's not just going to sit back. I do not think that. Should we be talking about, is LeBron going to retire too? Is that definitely off the table? Because now Bronny looks pretty far away from the NBA. I don't know. That last conference where he's like, I'm closer to the end than you guys might think. I don't know. What's he doing here at a certain point? You think he's just going to eke out these seasons? It's going to be hard to put together 82 games at that age. You are welcome to weigh in on LeBron James, 855-212-4227. Want to watch the show? Come on in. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. You can always listen to us on SiriusXM, channel 158, and the absolutely free to download Odyssey app. It's a great app. I don't just say that because we work here. It really is good. I was talking about that with our guy yesterday who came to interview me for Inside Edition. How about that? Whoa. I know. Look at that. Pick up that name I just dropped. Were you talking about the new Taylor Swift thing? No. I have to imagine there's someone else they could have found for that. No, I was talking about Caitlin Clark in her introductory press conference in Indianapolis yesterday. Right. 2 days ago.
How about that creep?
It was a awkward interaction for sure. Very cringe. Very cringe. That's Greg Doyle from the Indy Star, who basically had an awkward back and forth with Caitlin Clark about the heart hands that she makes towards the crowd, towards her family, actually. And he said something like, well, if you do that heart emoji to me, we're going to get along just fine, or the heart hands. Basically just really overstepping, trying to get way too familiar too quickly. And it came off real bad. Yeah, it's funny. He apologized. When you said it didn't sound as bad. When he said it sounded really bad. It sounded really. I wouldn't have done something like that at a press conference. That's not my style. But actually, for some reason, if
if he had said it a little more normally, he might have gotten away with it. Like, you could have done something like that. Like, say, hey, what's the deal with the hand sign? Can you show it to us or something? But the way he said it was not good.
No. I mean, I think the other way you could ask it is, you've become sort of synonymous with doing this to your family, after you win a game or after you play. Is this something you're going to continue? Is this something that I don't know. Why are we even talking about this?
Right? Isn't that annoying, though? That was one of the big... And I brought it up, so I apologize.
That's okay.
But I feel like that was the biggest thing that I heard out of the Caitlin Clark introductory press conference. One of the most historic college basketball player, and it's the main headline was, this journalist made a creepy remark.
Yeah, welcome to being a woman, Pat.
By the way, I think...
Sometimes this kind of thing happens where you're having your moment and then somebody comes and ruins it. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that heart sign, can we talk about our upcoming guest today?
Yes, we can.
DeMar Hamlin is famous, does that heart sign all the time.
Yes, he does.
Can I ask him about it in a non-creepy way?
I don't think so. And I think that Greg Doyle's basically shown you got to stay away from that.
Well, come on. We know I could say that to DeMar Hamlin. It's way different, a male reporter saying that to Caitlin Clark than me saying, hey, can you give me the heart sign? He'd be like, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, the male-female dynamic definitely played a role there.
Oh, you think? Yeah.
Without a doubt. So that was thorny, and I got a call. We got a call here. Inside Edition wanted to do the story, which was fun. So I was nestled right in between with the stories.
Yeah, what were your stories?
I was nestled in between like a juror on the Trump latest thing decided to leave. And one of the jurors on one of his, whatever he's in court for now, all that millions of things. But one of the jurors decided to leave. So I was nestled in between that story and a tree that fell. Crazy video in the back of somebody's house, and these two guys were like out there like drinking beer basically around a campfire, and they narrowly escaped. So that's pretty good.
That's a compelling story. That's tough to beat.
Those kind of shows now, I mean, they're doing some news, like they were doing The Juror and stuff like that, and the Caitlin Clark story, but I realize I don't really watch the Inside Edition or any of those shows anymore. It's kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos. Sort of.
I thought it was more gossip, celebrity gossip.
It wasn't. It's a lot of user-generated social media stuff. Like there was one story about a creepy guy who was like putting his phone, trying to like look up women's skirts with a phone. It's just like, it's all just stuff that's coming from social media. Like storm chasers and the people almost got hit by a tree and stuff like that.
There you go.
And we've run out. We've run out of original ideas, I think, at this point. So it's...
Listen, I was
several years ago.
It's all right.
Not to overshoot. You and Caitlin Clark though. That's great.
Listen, it was a weird day. Weird day.
Yeah.
So the problem also was, if I can just take you behind the scenes for 1 second, I know we've got to go to break. So Inside Edition calls and they're like, we'd like somebody to comment on the Caitlin Clark story, and so they came to me and asked me, and I was happy to do it. But then I looked down and I realized that I was wearing a Rally Pimp T-shirt, which is really not the imagery that you want going out on Inside Edition talking about these complicated inner dynamics between men and women.
That's true.
So I had to change out of the Rally Pimp shirt. And the only other shirt that I had in the office was a Maggie and Perloff T-shirt. So I'm essentially I was like a walking billboard for the show. And I'm like the person who's wearing the shirt like on the show. It was just too much.
That much better than the rally. Is that the new Mets Rally Pimp?
Yeah. I ordered that right away.
What do you think about your friend Andy Martino claiming that he's better than everybody else?
I don't know if that's how funny. He didn't like pimp imagery. And so I tweeted him a picture of me in the shirt. And I was like, Andy, I hate to break it to you. I'm all in on the Rally Pimp.
This almost made it to Inside Edition.
Almost. So close. Coming up, we talk about these NFL quarterback prospects through the lens of college football. We'll do that in a minute. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff, Infinity Sportsnet.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
It's Caitlin.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining.
Yep, he just referred to Caitlin Clark as that and it.
It was just really bad all the way around.
Maggie Gray is co-host of Maggie and Perloff on Infinity Sports Network.
I think Caitlin gave him a lot of grace. She didn't fire back. She didn't try to make a big deal about it. She really just kept things moving, and she and a lot of athletes sometimes get asked very insensitive and delicate questions.
Start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine. So
the reporter is now apologizing, calling his comments clumsy and awkward.
45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff. I love this time of year, Perloff, when the NFL draft is only single-digit days away, that we talk to college football analysts to sort of give us a little backdrop on what they think is going to work in the pros.
So wait, you'd prefer to hear people talk about players who they actually watch compared to all the NFL writers who did not watch football on Saturdays?
Exactly, and that's why we bring in Tom Fornelli, who's a college football writer and analyst for CBS Sports and CBS Sports HQ. Also Cover 3 Pod, which we're such big fans of. Tom, thanks for the time. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so let's start off with the quarterbacks, as we usually do around here. If it was just based on college tape, how would you rank Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix. In what order?
See, it really kind of depends. If you want to go on the full body of work or just last year, because it's like who these guys are now compared to who they were as freshmen, which is one of those things that is kind of difficult for me at times when I evaluate them. Because, like you said, I've watched these kids throughout their entire career. So when I see them as a freshman, my thoughts on them at that time still kind of live in the back of my brain. So even as they get better, it's like, well, I still remember that one game, 4 years ago when he was terrible. But overall, I would say whether you look at last year or the career as a whole, Caleb Williams is number one either way. I think last year you could say it was his worst season in college because it was, but even then, when you watch him play, when you watch the tape, he just does things and makes plays and throws that simply nobody else in this class does. That's not to say he doesn't have his warts. He does hold on to the ball a little too long. He's a little loose with it. He can, he fumbled a lot last year because of it. And that's stuff he needs to work on. But just as far as making wow plays, there's nobody in this class that can do what Caleb Williams does. At number 2, I would have Drake Maye. I think that if you look at the ceiling, like last year, North Carolina was bad last year. Their offensive line was awful. They had one receiver. They didn't really have anybody else after that, and they couldn't pick up a blitz to save their lives. So for the most part, Drake Maye would catch the snap, and if he didn't get rid of it right away, he was under pressure nearly every time. And that kind of caused his accuracy to suffer. But if you go back 2 years ago, he was a much different-looking player. He was much smoother. I think that at times his accuracy does suffer, but he also, like Caleb Williams, he makes the kind of throws that, you see an NFL quarterback make, like a Josh Allen make, a Patrick Mahomes make, that you really don't see a lot of college kids making. He can make those throws. So while I don't think he is somebody who I would want starting right away if I drafted him this year, I think he's got the highest ceiling of anybody in the class besides Caleb Williams. And then after that, I have to go Jayden Daniels because to me, he just has the athletic ability and he has grown so much as far as playing the position. I think he's gotten a lot better at going through his progressions and understanding what defenses are trying to do before the snap and making those kind of plays. My concern with Jayden is he is still a little too eager to run at times, which I get because he's very fast. And if I had that kind of speed, I would want to show it off as much as possible too. But I do think that with his frame, the amount of contact he took in college would probably not be good for his long-term health in the NFL because they hit a little different when you get to that level. But after that, honestly, I feel like everybody else is mostly the same. I think I understand why J.J. McCarthy is getting the kind of hype that he is getting, as why NFL teams like him, because he does do a lot of things that NFL coaches like. But I also think he is somebody that is probably still a year or two away from somebody you want starting for your NFL team.
Tom, I got to admit, I'm a little confused. Say you just took last year. It seems to me that Jayden Daniels obviously was a better college football player last year than Drake Maye. So when you say that Drake Maye can do the NFL things, that sort of sounds like a projection in the way you were describing it, or was he a better quarterback last year? Because it seemed Jayden Daniels was kind of perfect last season.
I think Jayden Daniels had an incredible season, and I think he grew a lot. But I also think that, if you watch the LSU tape, the important thing we have to remember is, first of all, Jayden Daniels is old, and I think that old for a college quarterback. And I think the one thing we often overlook is the most important thing for any quarterback or any football player or any athlete in any sport is repetition. The more you do it, the slower the sport becomes, the better you get at it. Jayden Daniels is a year younger than Trevor Lawrence. He was in the same recruiting class. So this is a situation where he has so many reps that of course he got better last year. And also when you look at what's around him, he had 2 first-round receivers he was throwing to. And if you watch the tape, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas were wide open. I don't mean NFL open or college open. I mean there was often nobody within 10 yards of them on some of these throws. So it wasn't like he was fitting balls into tight windows. Drake Maye did not really have that kind of, that benefit. Devontae Walker is North Carolina's best receiver. He's going to get drafted, but he's not what anybody would consider a first-round pick. And also, the way that they were doing it, he wasn't getting as open as Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas were. So he had to fit balls into tighter windows. He had to make more throws from outside the pocket while scrambling. I just think arm strength, Drake Maye is really special. Like there's talked about, Joe Milton throwing the ball 80 yards, at the combine and stuff in the drills. Drake Maye has that kind of arm strength too, and he actually uses it in games, and it's much more accurate with it overall than a guy like Joe Milton was. So I look at Maye, like there's a lot of Justin Herbert-like comparisons, and I get that. Because build-wise, I think they're similar, but I think as far as style of play and where they are now, he reminds me more of Josh Allen in that the tools are there. The question is, can you refine them and can he improve upon them? And you look like Josh Allen in college had like a completion percentage of like 50%. His accuracy was awful. He gets to Buffalo. Brian Daboll works on some stuff with him, and he becomes a much better passer. I think that's where Drake Maye is as a prospect. So that's why I say he has a much higher ceiling, because he's also like 2 or 3 years younger than Jayden Daniels. So there's a lot more projection left there than there is with Jayden.
Tom Fornelli joining us, college football writer and analyst for CBS Sports and CBS Sports HQ. Tom, we have a segment on our show that we call The Daily Deion. We literally check in with Deion Sanders almost every single day. The latest is Shiloh and Shedeur, his 2 sons, out on Instagram saying, if you want to play for Colorado, DM the defense. If you're a defensive player, DM Shiloh. If you're an offensive player, DM Shedeur. A, is this going to work? B, what's your outlook for Colorado this season?
I think that on the surface it is funny because they're putting on their Instagram stories, hey, if you want to transfer here, DM us. But that is how a lot of this communication goes back and forth between players and and the college personnel directors. They are on DMs on Twitter and Instagram, so that's nothing new. It's the fact that it's the quarterback and the cornerback who are on, the son of the coach who are doing it on social media that is weird, because it really kind of gives you the sense that the Sanders family as a whole are making all the decisions in that program. It's not just Deion. It's like his sons are a part of it too. So it is certainly a different approach, but it's also not completely out of line with what you typically see. So it's funny as far as how Colorado's going to work. A lot of the players that Deion brought in last year, he said when he showed up, he's like, there was the video that they put out that said he's bringing his own luggage, and it's Louis. And a lot of that Louis has entered the transfer portal again this year and is leaving. And my question is for Deion, like we saw, they got off to that great start last year. They surprised a lot of people with those wins against Nebraska and TCU. But it got really rough in conference play. They went 1-8 in the conference, and now they're joining a new league, which was their old league. But anyways, you look at the turnover on that roster, and my concern is that Deion's approach has been a very short-term approach. He's not trying to build that team as some sort of long-term project. It's not like, okay, this is where we're going to be in year 3, year 4, year 5. It's like, okay, what are we going to do next week? That really seems to be the long-term vision, is what's going on next week, next month, which tells me Deion doesn't plan on being there for the long haul. So based on the roster turnover, I think Shedeur is a talented player. I think Travis Hunter might be the best college football player in the country. He could be, depending on his position, he could be a top 5 pick in the draft next season. They have talent. It's just they don't have depth. And I don't know that they have the right approach to where I could look at that team and say they're going to win a lot of games. I expect that they'll be better this year, but I look at Colorado and I don't see a team that's going to be competing for much more than, going to a bowl game.
Is Shedeur Sanders the number 1 pick next year?
I doubt it. I think that he will be drafted. I think that he will go somewhere, but I just look at his ability-wise. He's talented. He's got a good arm, but he doesn't have a rocket arm. We talked about, holding on to the ball, something Caleb Williams does. I think Shedeur is the poster child for a guy who holds on to the ball way too long in the pocket and tries to wait for somebody to get open. It works sometimes at the college level. You can't do that at the NFL level. You're going to have to be much quicker. But I will say the one thing that truly impresses me about Shedeur as a quarterback is he takes care of the football. A lot of the times you see guys who are just kind of sitting around in the pocket waiting. They get hit, they fumble, turn it over. He rarely turned the ball over last year, whether it was through fumbles or interceptions. He makes smart decisions. The key is you have to get him to make those decisions quicker because the game is going to start speeding up on him as he goes to the next level. And then there's also the fact that Deion has said he's only going to let his son play for a certain amount of teams. So it probably depends on who has the number 1 pick, whether he's going to be the number 1 pick next year.
Well, Deion, Shedeur, both in Dallas next year. I think that would sell some tickets. How about that combo?
That would certainly, yes, that would get ratings, that would sell tickets, that would get clicks on stories. I think everybody in the media would definitely be rooting for that angle, yeah.
Tom Fornelli, CBS Sports HQ. Tom, thanks so much for the perspective. We appreciate it. We'll catch up with you again soon.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This is such a pipe dream that you keep putting out there into the universe. There is no shot that Deion and Shedeur are going to the Dallas Cowboys next year.
Why not?
This is like what people call like manifesting. I think you're manifesting this. This is you're hoping.
So say the Cowboys, say Dak gets hurt early on. They end up 5-12. They've definitely fired McCarthy. So I know you want them to hire Belichick, which makes a lot of sense. But they could easily get up in the top 5 to draft a quarterback. Why not?
But I don't think Deion's coaching in the NFL, no matter how well he and Jerry get along.
We all know how this works. If they get Shedeur, they have to hire Deion. It's like a local high school basketball league. Like the dad has to coach. That's how the NFL should work.
Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got headlines for us. Hello.
Good morning again. So he's going to be Rookie of the Year. He could have been Defensive Player of the Year. Is there a Best Teammate Award in the NBA for Victor Wembanyama? Because J.J. Redick let us know on Carmelo Anthony's podcast that last summer, Wemby was offered the chance to go on stage at a Drake concert in Austin. Apparently, athletes coming on stage are a recurring thing on that tour. Wemby asked if the teammates that would be with him at the show could come on stage as well. And when the Drake camp said no, Wemby said, then no thanks for me. How about that?
Look at that. What a team
How
guy.
about that?
Yeah.
If Sohan can't come up also on stage, then
Right.
none of us are coming on stage.
You do know the Spurs were 22-60, right?
This happened before that. This makes it even better. Pre-first game, he was new, and he already was taking a leadership role of the Spurs.
So I watched a little of a video of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on stage at a Drake concert, and I think they were using this as a way for maybe Drake to like get a glass of water or take a little break or something, because they just had the camera on SGA just sitting there for an awkward amount of time.
With nothing happening.
Nothing happening. He's just sitting there on like a bench looking at the camera, kind of like, a little Zoolander, like a little model glare, just like looking into the camera. I was like, oh, is he going to look away? What's happening here? Is Drake going to come out?
Well, after his recent commercial with Chet Holmgren, you'd think that he would maybe take the mic
Take
and
the
start
mic and
singing.
sing. Good point.
What a pro wants.
Because
that commercial was good the first time.
Yeah, I'm sick of it now.
That's rough.
That's immediate. When you hear it, it's immediate clenching of the fist and anger. Shut up!
I feel like, Pat, does that happen to you multiple times a day?
Yes, because it's all the same commercials. Burger King has gotten back in my head. They've revamped. They've loaded back up. They have flanked all corners of my brain. Burger King is back. What are the other annoying commercials that we got?
That one, wait till we get to football season. Football, it's just the same ones. Or the NFL season, it's the same ones over and over.
Yes.
Or the Dr. Pepper, Fansville. It's all the same.
Every Sunday, losing a parlay on the last leg, crushing parlay, and then right after.
Mahomes or Auto?
No, that one.
That
and
one's
then
good.
And then, come and get BK Broil Wrap.
Don't do it. We already gave people a one-hit wonder bracket that basically got songs stuck in everybody's head for a month. We can't start doing commercial jingles.
I would counter that. The only funny writing basically in America right now is insurance commercials. That's the only place where all the comedy writers left The Simpsons, and that Progressive Dad and Geico, those are really funny. They probably annoy you, Pat, but don't you think that the Progressive Dad, don't be like your parents?
LL Cool J.
LL Cool J was showing a weird guy how to do a selfie. That makes me laugh every time.
Love that.
Maybe
you
I'm the target.
Love that stuff.
Old people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just wait, Pat.
That's not how you do a selfie is one of my favorite lines. I still laugh.
We don't need a countdown.
When you take a selfie, go 3, 2, we don't need a countdown. There's one where, sorry, if
This is
we're on
going to
this-
make Pat's anger just lives right below the surface.
How about when he's showing people how to not clutter and they throw out things, and a guy has old siding from his house. He says, you never know when you're going to need this. And the progressive guy goes, I do, never. I love that guy because he's talking to me. He's talking to me.
That needs to come to Long Island. I'll tell you that much.
The LL Cool J one is the next level. That is one of the great commercials of all. Anything LL Cool J, I automatically get happy when I see that guy. I don't know if he's been canceled or anything, but
I don't think so.
He is so
He
cool.
better not. He is actually. It's actually a good. influence on everybody, I feel like.
And I think if you've made it through, you've been famous this long, and you got through the Me Too movement, and you haven't been canceled yet, you're as good as gold.
That's right.
You're a famous person. You got through that unscathed. You must be you must be an angel.
Yeah, you must be like a monk. I don't know how you would do that. LL Cool J, though, I think also his Q rating has stayed up very high. No one's ever like, I don't like LL Cool J. I've never
he hasn't
heard
put
that.
out an album in
Oh my God,
decades.
I have no. What's his last album? I have no
Mama
idea.
said knock you out.
But,
Yeah, right.
What else we got?
Actual NBA games tonight. Heat Bulls, then Pelicans Kings to decide the 8 seeds. Jimmy Butler and his knee officially out from Miami. Zion and his hamstring out for New Orleans. Here's Pels head coach Willie Green.
We all were disappointed, and just kind of being there for Z, being supportive, encouraging him as he attacks his rehabilitation and his recovery from it.
And again, Zion not reevaluated for 2 weeks. So if New Orleans advances past tonight, they wouldn't have him either. The Celtics and Thunder waiting to see who they'll get in round one. Both those series start on Sunday. The corny jokes last weekend from New Kentucky coach Mark Pope did not work. Reed Shepherd is leaving for the NBA draft. The NFL says there is insufficient evidence to punish Ravens receiver Zay Flowers over domestic violence allegations from January. Flowers was never charged. Police have suspended their investigation. Arizona State quarterback Jayden Rashada is in the transfer portal and has 4 years of eligibility left since he only played 3 games this past season. Georgia considered by some to be the frontrunner for his services. Now, he was a big-time high school recruit, was initially linked to Miami, then committed to Florida until a multi-million-dollar NIL deal fell through, which left him going to Arizona State. So wherever he goes is Miami, Florida. That's 4 schools in 18 months.
I know. Well, the Florida situation was crazy because he was like the crown jewel of the recruiting class, and then it just all fell apart. It was shady circumstances. What was he promised to what, to who? And now Arizona State, as you mentioned it, 3 games, and now he's just back out there and going to Georgia?
Well, is that...
Or maybe going to
Isn't
Georgia.
this a more normal path for a quarterback now? How many, the top recruits, how many schools have they all been to? How many times did Del Raiola, we've already put him in 6 jerseys already. I don't think he's played a game yet.
He hasn't. This seems like a lot with 3 games played and it's all been kind of rapid fire too.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel like that much to me.
I mean, he was linked to 2 places before he played anywhere,
Right.
then played at a 3rd school, and now we're looking at a 4th.
Well,
Raiola's already flipped twice, and he hasn't played yet.
Well, I think it's interesting.
Twice or once?
I thought it was Ohio State to Nebraska.
I
no?
think he was supposed to go to there was another school before Ohio State that
Maybe
had
Georgia
him.
then too, earlier.
So Raiola and now with Rashada, I think it's kind of different because usually when guys are hitting a lot of different schools, it's because they're progressively working their way up. It's rare that you're kind of hovering around the same level, I guess, maybe a little Quinn Ewers, but I'm thinking about Michael Penix or someone like that, where you're at Indiana and then you go to Washington.
No, but I assume the top recruits, while those guys are going up, someone's got to come down.
A Dylan Gabriel. It's you start at UCF and then you go to Oklahoma and now you're going to Oregon.
No, I think the big guys go down all the time, right? I think for every time there's a guy who Penix who goes up, there's 5 guys who go down because all those, doesn't Alabama have 4 or 5-star quarterbacks there? What happens to them? We just don't know their name. Oh, by the way, Julian Sayin too. He's another guy who's already flipped multiple times and hasn't played it down. DJ Lagway has flipped already. This is the way it is. NIL has made this very, very confusing.
Right, and also that's why also Rashada is unique because the number was at one point $13 million. No one ever knew if that was real or not at Florida. And all of a sudden then wasn't going to get paid to him. So he had a little extra attention on him and was supposed to be really good, and then only played the 3 games and is now moving on again.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
wouldn't start at Georgia. He'd be Carson Beck's backup if he went there for a year.
He's not a 5-star though, right? He's not
No, he's a top 50 recruit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not like Arch
He's not
Manning.
a guarantee. He's not a generational quarterback per se.
Speaking of Arizona, the NHL has approved the sale of the Coyotes to Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith. This is where it gets complicated. Technically, it's a new team that'll be in Salt Lake City, but it'll be comprised of all the Coyotes players and staff. The actual Coyote franchise is inactive. That's the NHL's word for now, as they try for another new arena deal in the Phoenix area. Guys, back to you.
They have better luck just putting actual coyotes on skates than whatever is going to end up happening here. Anyway, thank you, Bogusch. Coming up, one high-profile sports divorce. Not the Coyotes in Arizona. Another one. We get some more info on that in just moments. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
This is Andrew Perloff. No, this is Andrew Perloff with a Sports Minute. This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute.
Remaining. Seconds remaining. seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, mornings here. Infinity Sports Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, free Odyssey app, YouTube, Twitch, the whole deal. It was still the biggest story of the offseason so far, Perloff. Stefon Diggs traded away from the Buffalo Bills.
That's the biggest story of the offseason? That's bigger than Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta?
I think so.
Okay.
I would suggest yes. So this was the first time since that big blockbuster trade that Josh Allen publicly weighed in on the trade. So they were all in Buffalo yesterday. Brandon Beane was doing his pre-draft press conference. Josh Allen was there as well. And Josh Allen was asked about Diggs and what losing Diggs now will mean for his future.
Definitely hard to part ways with a guy that's been very instrumental in our success here over the last 4 years. And again, I can't thank him enough for when he came in and how hard he worked and what he taught me along the years. Obviously, I wish we can keep everybody. We've made a lot of changes this offseason, lost a lot of veteran leadership, Steph being one of them. I guess that's the nature of the business. And going into year 7 now, it just kind of is what it is. You know, I don't get paid to make changes on the team. I get paid to be the best quarterback that I can be and try to lead the guys on this team. I think it's an opportunity for myself to grow as a leader and to bring along some of these young guys or new guys that we've brought into our team. And that's an opportunity, frankly, that I'm very excited about. You know, it's something that is going to be very challenging, but I'm very willing to do it.
So there you go. I mean, you can feel the changes going on in Buffalo, and this is going to really come back on Josh Allen because he already shoulders so much of the load. He already is one of those guys that Cam Newton calls, a game changer, where you really can ask him to go out and basically win a game for you. It's not unfair to ask him to do that. How much can you possibly put on this dude's plate? I mean, you got rid of basically all the veteran leadership, a lot of it, and you got rid of his best offensive weapon. I mean, the guy sometimes plays superhuman, but he's not. I mean, this is a lot for him to now take on.
Yeah, I mean, you have the model in Kansas City where Patrick Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill and has a bunch of 2nd to 7th round wide receivers.
Like Kelsey and Andy Reid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but Josh Allen, I think if you pay your guy $50 million, you think he can make these receivers. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be that hard. First of all, I think that it's going to encourage them to hand the ball off more, which you've been lobbying for 5 years.
I have.
So I just don't know. I'm back to where I've been many times. The wide receivers are a bit generic. I feel like Josh Allen, listen, he's going to throw a lot of passes, and somebody's going to step up and have 1,200 yards just as a function of the offense. I don't know who, but it's not like these guys can't catch the ball. Do you really think that this is going to gut him? I don't think so at all.
I think there's definitely going to be a transition period. And I do think that the Bills are going to have to come away with this draft with a wide receiver. So then you're asking to work in a wide receiver who's a rookie who's going to have to make a major contribution. Now, Dalton Kincaid as a tight end did that last year. And at the end of the year, he was catching huge passes for Josh Allen.
And
Third downs.
Stefon Diggs was not catching any passes.
Stefon Diggs was dropping those passes. Okay.
Or not even really getting targeted anymore.
Yeah, but again, you're asking basically in a team that's still win now with the window open, you really are going to be asking a lot for whoever this wide receiver is. And I don't know if the Bills are going to try to trade up and try to get a Rome Odunze or try to, really get aggressive here. Or honestly, if they end up trading back, if this really is one of the deepest wide receiver drafts that we've seen in a long time, then maybe you're trying to trade back, get some more assets, and maybe you're finding that guy in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, listen, look around the league, look at the great receivers. How many of them went in the second round? Well, more than went in the first round. I'll tell you that right now. I agree with what you said. It'd be nice to trade down and get 2 receivers. Give me Xavier Legette and Ladd McConkey or some combo of something. But I think Josh Allen, here's the reality. If you're that good at quarterback, you can throw to anybody. That's just the way it is.
I know, but usually you have someone. You know?
Now they have Kincaid. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he is. But again, now you're asking him to, is year 2 going to be just like it was in the second half of year 1? It doesn't always work like that. And, Mahomes does have Kelsey. Like, we really can't downplay exactly how big that is.
Who did Aaron Rodgers have toward the end in the second MVP season at the end? He did not have a good receiver. Oh, did he have Devontae the last time? Yeah. Oh,
yes.
That's good.
Coming up, more on the Bills. That is DeMar Hamlin, someone who has really transcended the team with what an inspiration he has been coming back from a devastating heart issue. We check in with DeMar next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Major offseason for the Buffalo Bills, Perloff. You know, it was a time, maybe a little bit of time to pay the piper. This was a team that really needed some changes, but I don't know if anyone was expecting the amount of changes that they underwent. Obviously, you still have Josh Allen there. You still have Sean McDermott, but a lot of leadership gone. A lot of those veteran faces, a lot of the team that really tried to get over the hump against the Kansas City Chiefs, those guys are gone. This is really a 2.0 era for Josh Allen. And now they've got the draft sitting in front of them. They clearly have needs at wide receiver and on the defensive side of the ball. So it's an interesting time now for Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't just a salary cap situation. It was a lot of players got older and injury prone. So I'm not as worried about some of these changes because honestly, I think change is overdue. They kept hitting a wall against Kansas City. Listen, when you have Josh Allen, there's a lot of options.
No, your window's always open. That's why I thought it was crazy when people, after the Stefon Diggs trade went down, said that, oh, this is the window for Buffalo closing. Yeah. What is anyone talking about? It's 27-year-old Josh Allen. Now, I'll give you this, Perloff. I think that the AFC East, now, the Miami Dolphins were good last year. Bills were able to hold them off in the last game of the season to end up winning the division. But if you don't think the New York Jets are really going to be a factor, I do. I know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be coming back from the Achilles, but if he's healthy, the Jets have made all the changes and made the additions that you want for an all-in team.
Wow.
Now, I don't trust their head coach, Robert Saleh, but I do have a Aaron Rodgers chip on your shoulder. That makes me nervous.
Last year, everyone was talking about the AFC East being a dominant conference. I don't know. It feels like of the AFC divisions, it's one of the easier ones. You got, I wouldn't worry about that. If you're losing sleep over that, Maggie, I think you're going to have bigger problems in the AFC West, namely those Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, let's turn our attention now to a member of those Buffalo Bills, DeMar Hamlin, who has transcended just football and become a celebrity and an inspiration for how he has recovered from his cardiac arrest. He joins us now on behalf of Abbott, the HeartMates program. DeMar, good morning. You look great. You're just checking yourself out in the camera. How you doing?
Good morning. How you guys doing? I'm doing amazing.
We're doing good. DeMar, just so you know, off the top, Maggie is a diehard Buffalo Bills fan, so forgive her if she gets emotional here.
Yeah. Well, DeMar, it is great to see you, and anytime we get to see you, I think it brings up a lot of emotions for a lot of different people. But first, let's start off with the Buffalo Bills side of this. As Perloff mentioned, I am a fan. Where were you when the Stefon Diggs trade went down, and were you surprised by the trade?
I'm just showing up and just working every day. So, I was surprised by that. And, that's one of my closest friends on and off the field. So, hate to see him go, but, excited for him to, keep progressing in his career. But, I text him and, we'll be close no matter the location. So I'm glad that we were able to build our relationship. So I appreciate it every moment that we spend in Buffalo for sure.
Can you describe a little about your relationship with Diggs and kind of his, just sort of his presence in the locker room, because I think a lot of people made this out to be like Diggs, has this outsized personality, or that in some ways he was a distraction or something. From your vantage point, being a teammate of his, how would you describe Diggs's leadership style?
I would watch him go up to every person on the team and, motivate them differently. I think that's the perfect example of a leader. Every time I seen him put his cleats on, he came to work. He truly was the example of, how to show up and work and lead every day. You know what I mean? And he shows up for his teammates and his brothers on and off the field. He pulled up to my charity event, I think straight from being out the country last year, and that just exemplifies it, so he shows up for me. And, I'm super honored to be here today talking to you on behalf of Abbott. I'm pretty sure Diggs would show up for me here too if I would call him right now and tell him to pull up today. So appreciate my brother. I love him. I'm super excited for his new opportunities. I cherished every moment we got. And I'm super excited to be here talking to you about Abbott and the Heartmates team we're creating.
We can't wait to talk about that too. The Abbott Heartmates program. It's a providing support in the community, new technology for people who've been impacted by cardiovascular conditions. A last one for you on Diggs. So you guys are going to play the Texans this year. And, what's that going to be like? And if you guys face the Texans in the playoffs, what would that be like to be facing your former teammate in Diggs?
It wouldn't be my first time facing a former teammate. Roster's change every year. So, it'll be an adjustment. I'm used to having my brother on my side with me, but, we'll have to figure out a game plan for sure. Like I said before, I love my brother. I appreciate him for always showing up for me no matter what on and off the field. Like I said, if I will call him right now to pull up and get on this call and talk to you about Heartmates, he would. So, I'm just appreciative of every moment we spent together in Buffalo.
Real quick, one more football question. DeMar, so there's some new faces at receiver, but Khalil Shakir obviously practiced for who do you expect to sort of step up and replace a lot of that production? Because Diggs, in addition to leadership, just was an incredibly productive receiver as well. How do you expect the offense to sort of change without him there?
I'm not sure. I play defense. I play defense. I'm getting the ball back into 17's hands. I expect everybody to step up. That's kind of a role I'm in as well. Just young guys learning, growing, being a sponge, learning from the older guys who have been doing it the right way for years. And it's our time to do so. So I'm super excited for the opportunity, and I know everyone on that side of the ball is super excited as well.
DeMar Hamlin is joining us on behalf of the Abbott Heartmates program. Mentioned this is obviously very near and dear to you. You become such an inspiration for what you overcame that night in Cincinnati. This particular program, why did this one speak to you? Because you've been so influential now of helping bring awareness and attention to cardiovascular conditions.
Yeah, it was the perfect, perfect opportunity for me, partnering Abbott here, to be an ambassador for the Heartmates program, because the Heartmates program is made for, all people, all ages that have experienced cardio conditions. And, what the purpose serves is to create a community for people. It's a lonely road, when you're trying to navigate, getting back to normal, as people say, when dealing with a cardiovascular issue. So, to create a community for people to, navigate that road and, be able to learn from other people's experiences who may experience the same thing as you, or, just gaining perspective from learning from someone who experienced something different. So, it's a unique opportunity, and I'm super excited to lead the charge because I know the impact that it will make. And today, we're here doing a draft, with the NFL draft coming up next week. We decided to do a Heartmates draft. And today we're drafting 11 people into the Heartmates program, and they'll be able to be our starting lineup.
DeMar Hamlin joining us. You can go to abbott.com/heartmates. That's where you can find more details on this draft. You mentioned about getting back to yourself. I'm curious, do you feel back to your old self, or after what you went through, does that just change maybe who you are forever?
I'm still navigating that, to be honest. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still, I'm still on the journey, I would say. It's not a finished product yet, but, I'm on that road, and I'm waking up every day, with the growth mindset, always trying to get 1% to 3% better. So, I'm navigating that journey. So I'm still figuring it out myself. Maybe in a couple years down the line, I'll be able to, give you more information on how I did it. But, yeah, I'm still navigating.
DeMar Hamlin is joining us. I imagine your perspective just has to change. How could it not after you go through something like you did? But in terms of sports, obviously you're going to care so much whether you win or lose a game. It's your livelihood. It's what you've worked for forever. But does it change your perspective at all? Like, does losing a game feel a little less bitter because you have this global perspective now of what you almost lost?
That's a great question. Yes and no, because, I do have a sense of perspective to where, I can appreciate the simple things more. I can appreciate just being alive and just breathing a little bit more. But, I say no because, you put so much time and so much energy and effort into getting a win, just from us to the coaches to the staff to everyone that, participates in a program, to go out there each week and get a win. So, to say that a win feels less, less like hard on me, I will be cheating everyone around me and everyone that also goes into getting that win each Sunday. So, yes and no. Yes for personal reasons, but no because, I respect everyone that sheds blood, sweat, and tears with me. And that puts the hours and the time in as well. So, I respect everyone around me, and I want to win for them just as much as I want to win for myself.
DeMar, you mentioned it can be lonely for people with heart issues and many kind of issues. How many times a week do people reach out to you to discuss their health issues? And are some of those young people who have been so inspired by everything you've done?
Honestly, all day, every day. I'm learning people's stories. I'm hearing people's stories. I'm giving my perspective. I'm learning their perspectives. And, it's my favorite part of the journey, is actually experiencing and meeting people. I try to pride myself on being where my feet are and, actually indulging myself in all the moments that, where God places me. So, it's all day, every day, and it's one of my favorite parts of the journey.
DeMar Hamlin, again, joining us on behalf of Abbott, the HeartMates program, which is providing support, community, new technology, new devices for people who have been impacted by cardiovascular conditions. You can go to abbott.com/HeartMates. DeMar, on your behalf, I think there were a lot of people who felt some type of way about you not winning Comeback Player of the Year. Did you feel like you deserved that award?
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard some people were in an uproar. But, nah, I did at first. I ain't gonna lie. I did a little bit, just because, I'm a competitor myself. Any competition you put me in, I want to win. But, I clapped for Joe as he went on stage, and I clapped for him as he went off, and, I at this point in my life, it's truly God's plan. So, God had a reason for, God had a reason for him getting that trophy. God had a reason for his journey going how it went. And, I don't want to discredit that any. And, I truly feel with my journey, my comeback per se, it wasn't a worldly thing. It wasn't something that, a trophy can define. It's God gave me his trophy of still waking up every day, still living, still breathing, having a healthy life, having a healthy family. Being blessed with every opportunity that I'm placed in right now. And, I would be crazy to be upset about, 1 foot trophy. That signifies so much. I don't want to discredit it at all because I did want to win. But, I feel like my journey is way more spiritual than a worldly award.
DeMar, I have a left turn. You have to help us sell something. So you're from Pittsburgh, went to Pittsburgh, was also recruited by Penn State. I'm from Philadelphia. Penn State is a Philadelphia school, right?
I wouldn't say a Philadelphia school.
Thank you, DeMar. And we just settled the bet. And we just settled it.
But it's not a Pittsburgh school.
I would say Temple, Villanova, or Philly schools. I wouldn't give Penn State all to Philly just yet.
Do people always think Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are rivals, but really that's not your rival growing up at all, right?
No, I think there's bigger fish to fry out here in the world than for us to be beefing as state mates and next door neighbors. It's kind of like not really competition, but it's like when you're amongst your peers, you kind of compete a little bit. So that's maybe where the rivalry starts to form. But the 76ers is my favorite basketball team. I don't have no problem with Philly. My favorite rapper, Meek Mill, is one of my favorite rappers. He's from Philly. It's all love with Philly and me. So I don't got no problems at all.
Well, I told you he had great taste, Maggie.
I know, he does, obviously. A couple of minutes here with DeMar Hamlin, who's joining us on behalf of Abbott Heartmates program. You mentioned rivalries. I mean, the one between the Bills and the Chiefs right now is at a fever pitch. And every time you guys play these incredibly close games that have just not gone the Bills' way in the postseason, what is it going to take for the Bills to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs?
It's going to take us finishing the game with one more point in some way, somehow. This is a game of football. So, that's what it's all about. I'll leave the X's and O's to the coaches, and I'll show up each week, ready for the game plan and do my job, whatever that may be. So, I'll keep that short and sweet for you.
Do you guys feel like you have to be extra aggressive when you play that team? Is there like a mental side of this that you have to get over in order to sort of beat and take out the top team?
No, I don't agree with that. I think it's just about what I just said, finding a way. That's all it's about. It's that simple. Just finding a way. But, shout out to them. Shout out to, what they've been able to do over the past few years. Shout out to their players, that show up and keep finding a way to have success. We'll continue to do the same already.
DeMar, can't tell you how much we appreciate this. It's great to see you. On behalf of Abbott, the Heartmates program, again, they're having a draft, sort of, right? It's draft season here with the NFL draft happening next week. You can go to abbott.com/Heartmates to learn more about this program that provides, again, support to a community and also to new technologies for people who have been impacted by cardiovascular conditions. DeMar, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Appreciate that. Best of luck next year.
Wow, one pretty clear takeaway from that interview.
What's that?
DeMar Hamlin, Sixers fan.
Yeah, I know. I knew you were going to do that.
Yes.
Anytime anyone is even driven through the state of Pennsylvania, you have to ask them what they think of Philly.
Well, the funny thing is DeMar Hamlin takes a lot of Pittsburgh pride.
Totally.
I know, and he's also takes a lot of pride in being a Buffalo Bill. He's never said anything bad about that city, but I think of him as like one of those Pittsburgh guys.
You know what? He is. He's definitely tough, obviously. But you know what's funny about DeMar is he's, to me, yes, for the Bills, 100%, this is a story that could have been so tragic and ended up being an inspiration. I think he's kind of everybody. Like, everyone's a fan of his, though, right? Because the outpouring of support for DeMar was so wide, and every team was wearing the 3 on their shirts and on the field. It went so far beyond Buffalo. I feel like his story just got shared with everyone because there was, it felt like, just everyone wanted him to pull through so much,
100%.
And it just became way bigger than Buffalo.
Right. It's funny. He had a comment a while ago that he'd love to retire in Pittsburgh or whatever, but then and someone criticized him in Buffalo, and he's like, I love Buffalo, though. So all that because he's definitely a national player, but he sort of fits to me something about the Bills. There's a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
There's something about Buffalo.
Late round pick, making the most of his opportunity.
That it fits a character. When I think of the Buffalo Bills, I think of guys like that. Maybe that's unfair. I don't think of the salt of the earth kind of tough guys, and he is that. Not sort of Hollywoody guys. No offense. Does that sound bad? Sorry. I mean, Jim Kelly would have a beer with anybody at any place, like at a bar. Like, this is Buffalo.
855-212-4227. So appreciate DeMar Hamlin joining us. All right, coming up, lots more to do, including Andrew Perloff's draft rumor of the day. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart is here to satisfy your sweet morning cravings. Get your day off to a sweet start with the Cinnabon Pull-Apart. Only at participating U.S. Wendy's. The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Talladega this weekend. William Byron comes into the race with 3 wins this season, while Kyle Larson leads the way in points with 335. However, the forecast for Talladega, not good. Rain and temperatures in the 50s on Sunday.
What did you call it?
I screwed up Talladega. Yeah. But I've seen Talladega Nights many times. I'm a huge fan. I got to tell you, a new Cinnabon pull-apart. That sounds pretty darn good about now.
Where are those? Can we get one of those right now?
Okay.
They deliver?
We've been doing these NFL draft rumors. This is my favorite draft rumor maybe of all time. And I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because of the Twitter element to this.
Okay.
Or the X, whatever you want to call it.
Social media, yeah.
Okay. So it all started when a little team called the Washington Commanders decided to have all 4 quarterbacks that they might potentially be looking at visit the facility at the same time. In fact, I think they had over 20, maybe 25 draft prospects there at the same time. Apparently, we're learning more other teams do this too. A lot of reasons for convenience, so everyone can meet the owner, whatever. It seemed a little weird at the time, then it got less weird. Apparently, Jayden Daniels, the LSU quarterback who could go number 2 overall, his agent named Ron Butler was also curious about this. So there was a tweet out there where Mike Florio, our buddy at Pro Football Talk, and former NFL quarterback Chris Sims were arguing about this methodology from Washington to have all the quarterbacks. And Ron Butler put out a emoji tweet. Now, what would you call the emoji? I'm asking you guys. What would you call the emoji where it's a face and he has his fingers around the chin? What would you call it? I call it the emoji.
I thought it's confused.
Yeah.
Confused emoji.
Confused emoji. I've been reading people calling it the pondering emoji.
Intrigued emoji.
Intrigued emoji. So Ron Butler put out the intrigued emoji, but that's not all. It goes further on Twitter.
Wow, there's more.
Farther.
Yeah.
Good luck with that
Peter
one.
Schrager said, and I quote, "The week leading up to the draft is my favorite week of the year." This is NFL Network's Peter Schrager. Today's buzz around the league is about a top QB prospect's agent commenting with a shrug emoji, or whatever we call it, on a Mike Florio Chris Sims clip on Twitter. What's that mean? Can't make this stuff up, and why it's the best. The agent also liked that tweet.
Oh, wow.
And then someone responded.
Is this guy doing work, or is he just scrolling on social media?
Somebody else tweeted, so we're just supposed to ignore the like comments if the ponder emoji wouldn't be making a big deal. And Ron Butler liked that one. So Ron Butler keeps liking
Dude, get off
and
the
tweeting.
toilet and go do something.
So
It's
this
a bulky situation.
sounds harmless. Sounds harmless, right? What do we find out today? Because of this little piece of news, and I think this is why, the draft odds all of a sudden changed like crazy. Jayden Daniels was a heavy favorite to go number 2 overall. Now it's about even odds on DraftKings. He's still favored on some of the other books, but it has changed everything. And my theory is that we have nothing else to go on. Nobody actually knows what's going to happen, so might as well go with some emojis and some likes as a reason to change your draft bet.
I mean, wow, this one feels very 2024. Why would you do anything to tick off the team that has the 2nd overall pick when you would like to be picked 2nd overall?
Well,
or maybe Jayden Daniels doesn't want to go to Washington. But
that's a new
I wouldn't
theory
mind
out
going
there.
to Washington. They've got weapons, new head coach, new vibe. Maybe he doesn't like Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know. But
that's a lot of people's theory that for some reason Jayden Daniels doesn't want to go to Washington.
you ready to go to the New England Patriots right now to be
No.
what, in the Belichick hangover? No thanks.
There is one of the reasons the Patriots have been linked to him is because Jayden was on a podcast with his receiver Malik Neighbors, and Malik said, "Oh, you're about to be reunited with our friend up there in New England." And their friend is, of course, Kayshon Boutte, who was suspended for betting.
Yes.
So who knows what's going on here? So maybe Jayden wants to play with his buddy and doesn't like Washington. Who knows? But you're right. Why would an agent do this? Even if Jayden doesn't want to go to Washington, do not get on Twitter and say anything because it's just going to fuel the speculation the team definitely doesn't want to hear.
Okay, so here's the other part of it, right? So they had all the quarterbacks, the top quarterbacks, not Caleb Williams, but the other ones, all in at the same time. In some ways, yes, because it might have been convenient, but also wasn't it to see sort of how they were, like all, to sort of be evaluating them all at the same time.
Well, you say that, but that's just a theory
Okay,
because
well,
nobody's
maybe-
actually come out and said that that's why they do it.
Well, maybe that's even just a byproduct, right? You do get to see all these guys interacting all at the same time. They all went to Top Golf. You know, it was like there was a social component to it and all of that. So you're the guy who comes out of here, and I presume that the agent didn't go rogue here. I'm presuming maybe Jayden Daniels was miffed or upset by the fact that he didn't get his own visit. So, why do that? This is a time where, just sort of
why
keep
do
your
that?
head down.
If you're Jayden Daniels,
exactly.
Don't let it get out. No,
don't let it get out that
that's why the draft odds change. It's not a good sign. It's now Washington's like, oh man, are we getting a pain in the neck? I'm sure no team wants an angry agent either. Agents affect a lot of this.
Silly. Let's hit the phones. Big Dave is in Kentucky. Good morning, Dave. What's up?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing great.
DeMar Hamlin, what an inspirational dude, huh?
How about that? Right? Unreal.
It's one of those things. Like, that you remember exactly where you were when that happened.
Yeah, and DeMar just joined us, by the way. If you want to see that interview, you can always download the Maggie and Perloff podcast, and we'll put it up on youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet. Yeah, Dave, sorry, you were saying?
Oh, that's okay. It was a great piece. I listened to the interview there. It was a great piece. And, how the almost the entire country, came to encompass him and the relationship even from the city of Cincinnati, all the first responders and the whole city, everybody basically, got on that guy's train. He's an inspirational dude, and good to hear that he's doing great. Couple things real quick. I was listening to you guys yesterday morning, the Robert Kraft conversation. And Mags, you hit the nail on the head as usual. Anybody thinks that billionaire owners do anything by random, like that Robert Kraft is going to reach out to another owner out of the goodness of his heart and be a good Samaritan, so they don't is an idiot.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, he's worried about his own interests. He's afraid that Belichick was going to go to Atlanta, where he would have had almost a plug-in success roster. And have some success and kind of tarnish, what he accomplished with the Patriots. So I'm full on board with you there, Max. And
wait. So Dave, and I'm not sure. Was that what you were saying, Maggie? That Robert Kraft was afraid Belichick was going to succeed elsewhere, so submarined him?
I just think that you can't blame Robert Kraft for giving a true, honest assessment. That's what I said of Bill Belichick. I just didn't see how Belichick, who's been ornery and been his way or the highway for 40 years, what do they think was going to happen in Atlanta?
Because, Dave, you're saying something different. You're saying Kraft was afraid that Belichick would make him look bad by winning too many games.
I just think that's part of the narrative. I'm not saying that was his entire motivation.
Yeah, I said Robert Kraft was being petty. Yeah.
Absolutely. And listen, Robert Kraft doesn't have the most stellar reputation in the world either.
No.
I mean, if you look at things, I just think that the narrative or the opinion that he did this being a good co-owner is just ludicrous.
Oh, yeah, no. I don't think so. I also just think Belichick earned this reputation, though. And I think if you still believe in Belichick, it's because you still believe that he's a coaching genius and that he still has all this, knowledge and can change a culture. You know what you're getting with Belichick. Yeah, are you getting a warm conversation? Of course not. That would be insane. Belichick is the tyrant, and it's won him a lot of games.
I agree, but apparently, the Falcons were on the verge of hiring. I mean, they interviewed him and all that, and this Kraft call submarined all that. Yeah. Apparently, I just say, listen, it's a small knit circle. Do you think that everyone doesn't know who Bill Belichick is?
Exactly.
And in fairness to him, he apparently offered to relinquish some of his power in the past. He didn't want to be a GM anymore. He just wanted to coach his football team. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of silly. But on to more important things.
Yeah.
On Wednesday night, a report started to surface on Twitter and some other media outlets that Jerry Jones, the owner of the most underachieving sports franchise in the history of organized sports, has made an offer as an Arkansas alum mega booster to double the NIL offer to any of the Kentucky recruits that would come to Arkansas with Calipari over whatever Kentucky offered.
Oh, Dave, it's
Jerry
on.
Jones, the Dallas Cowboys, that hasn't spent a red dime in the offseason for free agency is putting. So Cowboys fans, congratulations. This is next level on the Dallas Cowboys circus. What's your guys' thoughts?
Man, I like this rivalry that's developing now. I like this Arkansas Kentucky Jerry going in with the big money bags to try to lure the Kentucky recruits to Arkansas. Dave, it's on, man.
Why would you want to recreate what happened in Kentucky and Arkansas if you're Arkansas?
Well, maybe the guys will stay a little longer.
I don't know.
Good point, McLovin.
Yeah.
If Calipari is just this powerhouse, man, why are they having to why are they having to back the money truck up to get recruits to come there?
Yeah.
Man,
This
Dave.
is the most Jarrah thing ever.
Appreciate that, Dave. Good to talk with you, as always.
I got a good theory on Kraft.
Oh,
that
yeah,
it's sort of, I listened to Mike Lombardi, former Patriots employee, close friend of Bill Belichick, on his podcast, the GM Shuffle, talked about what Kraft was doing. He mentioned it offhandedly, but I think this is a big thing because I've heard this before. Robert Kraft is obsessed with getting to the Hall of Fame. It's like his raison d'etre, as we say. It's all he talks about. Apparently, he has all these back channels working on it, and that he was upset because Belichick was not supporting his case vocally enough. And he thinks Belichick's one of the most influential minds, and that is where the real rift could be. And see, I think it's ego. I'm not actually. It's not totally different from what you were saying or from what Dave was saying, but I think Kraft's ego had a huge problem with Belichick.
No, the Hall of Fame thing is huge, especially when Jarrah got in. Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame, and Kraft probably feels like I definitely deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think that whole Dynasty documentary was supposed to be one big, you know what, to get Robert Kraft into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, do you like that as maybe a motivating force for Kraft kind of backstabbing Bill Belichick here? Because Belichick, I've never heard Belichick make a public case for Robert Kraft. Maybe he has, but I've never heard it.
I don't know. I mean, Belichick doesn't do anything for anybody ever.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I just think their relationship got really bad and really toxic at the end. And I think Robert Kraft probably felt like he is mad at Bill and himself that they let Brady go. I think it's very embarrassing that Brady went to Tampa and won that Super Bowl right away.
I think if Bill Belichick had come out right at the end of the season and said, I think that Robert Kraft should be in the Hall of Fame, he would be the coach right now and Drake Maye would be their quarterback or something. I don't know. I think that probably is a big deal. I got to tell you, I've heard so many people have told me about, have you ever heard of the Robert Kraft Hall of Fame effort? Like, it's a big, big deal to him. So I don't know. I think this is ego and friendships, loss. I have no idea. It's definitely personal. I mean, everybody agrees on that. Whatever happened with Kraft and Belichick, they were not buds by the end.
But don't take it out on Belichick. You're not in the Hall of Fame. It's the media, right? So start lobbying Tom Curran or whoever is the Boston person who's responsible for this.
But don't you think Belichick would help? I mean, everyone trusts Belichick when it comes to that kind of stuff. Anyway.
Bogusch is here with headlines. Hello.
Guys, some think that Jaime Jaquez was also a better rookie than Chet Holmgren. That's beside the point. The Heat need Jaquez to be better than usual tonight when they face the Bulls in the play-in finale without the injured Jimmy Butler.
We just got to stick together. One more game. This is a blessing at the play-in tournament. You know, being in the 7-8 is that you get one more game to fall back on. So, you know, make the most of it and take advantage of this blessing that we got.
Butler hurt his right MCL in Wednesday night's loss in Philadelphia. The Heat have only ruled him out for tonight. The Pelicans will not have Zion Williamson when they host the Kings in the West elimination game. He hurt his hamstring against the Lakers on Tuesday. Tonight's winners face the Celtics and Thunder, respectively, in round one starting on Sunday.
Bogusch, quick question. How out is Jimmy Butler? Is it out? Like out? Like until that guy is dead, I would be terrified of him showing up.
So I think when the NBA, when a team says a player is out.
Oh, so they did say
he's out, yes. But that's all they've done is say he's not playing tonight. They, as far as I can see, they have not confirmed anything past this game.
He's out.
Okay, he's out. Right.
But he's technically out for tonight.
Right.
And they said he's expected to miss several weeks.
Right. The expected is what scared me because I'm terrified of Jimmy Butler. You know how I feel about this man. He is the most relentless playoff player. Okay, so that's good. He's out tonight.
I thought probably was like, is he going to be allowed in the building? Like, what are you getting at here? He's out. He's not playing.
Because the original report was he's expected to miss multiple weeks, not he's going to miss multiple weeks.
Yeah, I would say even if they somehow win tonight, even if he were to come back and play in that Boston series, the Heat don't stand a chance. I know they knocked him out in the conference finals last year. This Boston team is 100 times better. The Heat are not nearly as good.
So what's the point? Right, I see what you're saying.
But very convenient now that they're on the brink of being eliminated and Jimmy Butler all of a sudden can't play.
Oh.
Wow. Well, look at you.
Questioning Jimmy Butler's toughness. Pat, I wouldn't do it.
I mean, I seriously would come here and find you.
This is not LeBron. This is Jimmy Butler we're talking about.
This guy's like riding around in an RV all summer. Like, this dude's on a different level. What else we got, Bogusch?
Only 2 night games were scheduled last night in baseball. Then the Cubs and Marlins got rained out at Wrigley, so the Giants and Diamondbacks had the stage to themselves, which allowed us to focus on Giants rookie center fielder Young-Hoo Lee and his large fan club sitting behind home plate in San Francisco during one late pitching change. The group had a dance party.
That's pretty fun, I have to say. Lucille looks like the odd guy out there, I got to tell you. Get out of the picture, Lucille.
That's from Giants TV. And
the mascot?
Yeah, he's the Giants mascot. And if you're confused by Lucille and odd guy out, this is actually L-O-U Seal. It's not Lucille, it's Lou Seal. He's a man, Seal mascot for the Giants.
I wonder how many people in a room came up with that idea.
And you have to explain it, which is always what you want for a mascot.
See, it's Lou.
Well, when you see him, I believe he has a fairly significant mustache to confirm his gender, but for radio, you only are hearing them say Lucille, and then they say Guy, which might have confused a listener or two without the visual.
I'm probably missing something here.
Yeah.
Why is it named Lucille?
Because there's seals in the in McCovey Cove, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think so.
I was thinking like there's a player.
Again,
there's something like attached to it, but no.
They probably took them. They probably spent $1 million, give or take, with this whole mascot thing, and the fact that we've needed 90 seconds to explain it means they done messed up.
A job not well done.
No, not good. Although I like this guy. This is a rookie now that we have to be paying attention to. I think this is a future star here. He's got his fan club. They're showering him with beer after he got his first home run the other night.
He had 2 hits. He scored a run last night, and his Giants pulled away late for the win.
Here's the set. There they go. The pitch. Line drive, base hit to right field. 1 run is in. 2 runs are in. Around to third base goes Chapman. Holding at first is Yastrzemski, and that opens it up considerably. It is now 5-0 Giants.
That, of course, is John Miller on Giants Radio.
The best.
The best.
A 4-run 8th leading to the 5-0 decision over the Diamondbacks. Lee's only 25, too. First year in the bigs. Played very, very well in Asia. Was a big-ish free agent this year. Sometimes, though, when those guys get here, they're kind of at an advanced age. But 25, if he is as good as some people think, we're going to get his entire career here in the States.
Is he just a lefty or a switch hitter? I saw him betting lefty last night, but I wasn't sure.
He throws right, and I saw the same clip. I don't know if it's a switch hitter or not.
Okay, let me see.
This says left-handed hitter.
Okay.
Yes, he's a lefty, not a switch.
This dude, I think he's got obviously the game, and I think he's got a pretty good personality too. Like it's breaking through. So that's a new, exciting young player on the West Coast to watch.
Got good hair too. A lot of hair. Jealous.
Got it all. Yeah. Oh, that's jealousy.
Yeah. Rangers righty Max Scherzer may now make his season debut in early May instead of late June, according to The Athletic. Scherzer had back surgery in November. He threw live BP on Monday, felt good. A reminder, if he was still somehow a Met, we'd be flipping this. He would have been targeting early May. It would have shifted to late June because that's how the Mets injury news normally goes.
Then it would have hit May 2025.
Right.
A lot of scar tissue for you guys, huh?
Thanks, Pat. On the ice last night, the Avalanche dumped the Oilers 5-1 in their regular season finale. Nathan McKinnon, 2 assists for a franchise record 140 points. And a pretty major upset last night in NCAA women's gymnastics. Utah and Florida topping 2-time defending champ Oklahoma in their national semifinal. So this will be the first time since 2012 that the Sooners are not part of the championship meet. The Utes and Gators joined the Final Four by LSU and Cal. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Got a lot more to do, including the one piece of sound you've got to hear. We play that next. Maggie and Perloff, don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Not sure how much that matters. Just letting you know, please don't kill the messenger here.
Got it. Okay.
So they're asking if we can do 9:20.
Yeah, that's fine.
One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Warriors doing a post-mortem, Perloff, on the season that ended in the play-in game to the Sacramento Kings, who move on and play tonight. Here is Mike Dunleavy, the Warriors GM, saying they can still compete for titles with their core trio.
And I think we have enough good players in our system. We have enough assets to acquire good players, and we have the ability to keep getting better. So given that, as long as those guys are still really good, I think we can contend and compete, but we just unequivocally have to improve.
He also said that he definitely wants Klay Thompson back.
Certainly we want Klay back, first and foremost. I expressed that to him yesterday. I think our players have expressed that, our coaches, front office, ownership. Look, everybody wants Klay back. He's still a really good player.
And you know what? Klay Thompson had a terrible game in the play-in, Perloff. He went 0 for 10 and 0 for 6 from 3. I still think that he can contribute. The question is going to be, do you actually throw significant money at Klay Thompson or significant years at Klay Thompson? Because I can't imagine that the Warriors still believe that they can win if they are relying on Klay for major minutes.
I totally understand what you're saying. And yes, I think even that quote, you could hear him begging Klay to take a better deal and not be like the last piece in Houston or San Antonio, like some veteran thing. Now, the funny thing about the other name that people are mentioning a lot yesterday, you mentioned it too, Paul George. Like, wow, wouldn't he be a great fit with Golden State? Do you realize that Paul George and Klay are the same age? So you're going to get basically older. And like, what's the plan here? Just try and glom on some older guys who generally don't stay healthy here. So I'm not sure what the real plan is. Like, it sounds like run it back to me.
Well, I mean, but running it back, you couldn't even get past the Sacramento Kings in a must-win game when you had everyone healthy. So, it's kind of like what the market tells you. Is the market telling you you're not close right now?
Yeah,
and
but
what do you do about that?
We probably should have brought this up yesterday. If you had Draymond all season, would you have been in the play-in?
Well, but that's Draymond's fault.
I understand, but
that's another part of this where I saw Steve Kerr was doing some interviews, and they asked, about being that close and how the 6th seed and the 10th seed were only separated by 6 games, and what could have been if you had Draymond. He said, people in Golden State, in the Bay Area, should just be thankful that we've had Draymond for this amount of time. Like, that to me is so tone deaf from Steve Kerr. I mean, thankful. What's going on with this? Like, you guys enabled and turned the other cheek, or maybe even encouraged, behavior that ultimately helped the team but hurt the team as well. And to ignore the fact that any of Draymond's behavior ever hurt the Golden State Warriors makes them sound like state-run TV. Like, how can you not acknowledge? Yeah, you want to acknowledge the good parts, and if you think Draymond, and what a key he's been to your titles. But to never acknowledge that there's any downside here, they never acknowledge that he's ever hurt the team, it kills their credibility.
Well, my theory, if you didn't have nasty Draymond Green, there's no titles. I mean, you needed that tough guy on that team because you have the untoughest team in the history of basketball if you take Draymond off that. And can you have Draymond be the tough guy without getting these suspensions? I understand in theory that sounds great,
right.
But Draymond is wired a certain way. And him being wired a certain way is why this team benefits off of having Draymond Green. You're really saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can't have half a Draymond Green. That's no such thing exists.
I know, but
if I told you, going back to early 2010s, you could have Draymond, but you're going to have to deal with these suspensions. Would you say I don't want him? No, of course not.
Okay, but then you're asking me, could they have avoided the play-in game if Draymond hadn't had the suspension? I'm telling you, I think the answer is probably yes. And so look at, I don't think it's too much to ask an adult, even a professional athlete, to understand as you age to have to rein in your behavior and understand where the line is.
Yeah, I don't know that that's going to work with Draymond. To be honest, I'm not sure it's going to work. But the thing about you're right, I did say that they should be blaming Draymond to some part for this. But when they're evaluating where they are as a franchise, they have to assume, because they have no other choice, that Draymond's going to be there all year next year. Curry will be there. Klay will be healthy. I have no idea. But basically, I don't think that they view themselves as a 10 seed. Like, they're not. That's not where they are talent-wise. I think they view themselves as better than that.
Okay, but the rest of the Western Conference is coming. And we talked about the, OKC and Minnesota and these teams, whatever's going to happen with Dallas and these other teams that are going to be heard from. And the other thing, too, about, you're like, well, next year you'll get the full Draymond. All right, well, he's getting older. And even though he missed games this year, he also had tons of ejections, including getting ejected in the first quarter of games. I mean, you do nothing for your team then.
Yes, but what would you rather have him just not be physical and just not get in people's heads and just be Draymond, the passer, occasional 3-point shooting guy. What does he do for you?
I mean, be available. Being available is kind of what I would be hoping for. It's not like you're paying him no money.
The reality is, too, even if Denver is a big problem for them. I mean, they do not look like they can match up with a major NBA front court, and even with Draymond.
Coming up, we may have some movement here at the top of the NFL draft. What's the latest? And who can take advantage of a big opportunity? We'll get to that next. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Finally getting some maybe movement at the top of the draft. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So all the general managers for NFL teams are holding press conferences now with the draft less than a week away. Perloff, I don't know why they do this. I guess it's one last ditch effort for GMs to try to get their smoke screens or get their information out. Kind of feels like the Patriots wanted to certainly get this message out, and that is that they are open for business with the 3rd overall pick.
We're open to anything, moving up, moving down. We're open for business in the first round and in every round. We have some holes we feel like we need to fill in the draft, and we're a draft and develop team. The more picks we have, the better. But if there's an opportunity to move up and strike, if the board kind of recommends it, then we won't be afraid to pull the trigger on that either.
Okay, so that's Elliot Wolf. He's the new Patriots GM. This is a whole change now with Bill Belichick out of the building. And to me, this is the Patriots ignoring the biggest hole that they have, which is they need a quarterback. You're sitting there at 3. I get trying to be coy. I get trying to, solicit whatever last-ditch offers, your last and finals, if you will, before the draft. But I think they'd be silly to try to get cute, not get a quarterback, unless they're really not sold on whoever the 3rd quarterback is going to be in this draft. But that seems to run counter to how the rest of the NFL is looking at least Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, and Jayden Daniels.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that. I feel like everybody seems to have a different opinion on all these guys, except for Caleb Williams, who seems like the surefire number one. There seems to be a lot of negativity on Drake Maye. Everyone thinks Jayden Daniels is going to get hurt because he runs too much and he weighs 210, and I don't even think he weighs that. I think he got bulked up for that weight. And then J.J. McCarthy, we never saw him throw a pass in college. So there are obvious downsides. I was looking at Elliot Wolf. I'm figuring out what year. His dad was Ron Wolf, famous executive. He got to Green Bay in 2004 as an assistant personnel guy. They drafted Aaron Rodgers in 2005 with the 24th pick, and then they drafted Jordan Love with the 26th pick. So maybe he's a guy who thinks you can find your quarterback later, and this would be a good draft to do it. So maybe New England trades down. Maybe they like Bo Nix. Maybe they like Michael Penix. And I think you can make an argument. There's a chance that one of the later quarterbacks just has just as much success as Drake Maye. Remember, this is a league where 2 years or 3 years ago, they took Trey Lance at number 3, done nothing. Zach Wilson number 2, and there were quarterbacks behind that who did much better. So maybe he wants a later quarterback. Could I sell you on that, Maggie?
No, because those circumstances were way, way different. Because the Green Bay Packers were picking towards the end of the first round of the draft because they were good. So you're not picking top 3, which is an incredible opportunity. And then the other part is, do you really think the Green Bay model can't even work here? You can't have someone sit for 3 years. That's insane. This is a team that
that model. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like this, nothing about whatever he did in Green Bay matches up with New England right now, in my opinion.
Green Bay is famous. They're the draft and develop team, right? They don't sign anybody. They get guys in later rounds and they make them into good players. So I do think there is, and it's similar to the Patriots too, who famously got their quarterback in the 6th round. If there's ever a place where you're going to get a late round, or not even a late round, but a diamond in the rough quarterback, I think this is a place that could be. And I think there's a good argument for that. I mean, we watch college football, right? Do you really think that Drake Maye had a better season than Michael Penix? Of course not. So I think that there's I don't think it's so obvious that whoever's at number 3 is better than whoever the next quarterback is or the quarterback after that.
I get what you're saying, and I'm someone who is a bit down on this draft class because I think that there are not the surefire bona fide stars here. But I will concede that the top 3 guys appear to be on a different tier. And I'm talking about Williams and Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye appear to be on a different tier than everyone else. And it starts with J.J. McCarthy and then Penix and Nix. And so there's a clear delineation. And I would say to the Patriots, if you are a draft and develop team, if you can't develop Drake Maye, where even if I'm not so high, the guy has got the tools. His bad season last year, I think people are not exactly blaming on him, or I should say North Carolina's bad season last year. I don't think people are putting on him. He's got the arm. He's got,
the tools. That scares me for a draft prospect. The second I hear that, like, ooh, that guy must have been bad in college, which sometimes works out and sometimes doesn't.
But 2 years ago, he wasn't bad. And then he lost most of his offensive line and receivers weren't good and the defense stunk. And now all of a sudden they can't win.
But you know what got the tools means. Like, that means he was spraying it all over the field at some point of his college career. But you don't say got the tools if the guy was Joe Burrow and had 60 touchdowns in a season.
Okay, but again, I could give you then Jayden Daniels and,
What's the downside there?
Well, you just gave it to me.
Just skinny.
No, I think there's more that, well, you said that. I think there's more than that. Like, is he still going to, the instinct to run when he shouldn't be running? And then the other part is if you want to talk about the middle of the field. And this isn't me. I'm talking about what the scouts are talking about.
I don't get that middle of the field. The guy threw 2 incompletions the entire season. He's amazing over the middle of the field.
No, it was more air yard, 20-plus yards, those kinds of things, and outside the numbers as opposed to using the middle of the field. That's what I'm reading in these reports, Perloff, and also...
I know, I've seen similar reports. I don't understand it. The guy had the best passing season in the history of the sport. There's no way he's not good over the middle of the field.
Well, but didn't take those. And why do you think he had a good season? Because throwing over the middle of the field is a lot more dicey, a lot more chances to get intercepted and picked off. He also had all-time offensive line with guys who are getting drafted this year and next year and amazing receivers. And you can say, well, Joe Burrow also had amazing receivers. Okay, but are you sure he's going to be Joe Burrow?
Well, I mean, if anybody's going to be Joe Burrow, it's him. They were basically the same guy in many, many ways.
Yeah, but did not play the same way. Joe Burrow wasn't running like that.
He wasn't right. Yeah, but I mean, they certainly were. Their passing numbers were almost identical. It's incredible how they followed the same path. Every time LSU played, they put the Jayden Daniels versus Joe Burrow graphic. I mean, there's no holes when you look at the game tape. There just can't be because he was perfect last season, except for the Florida State game. He was incredible. The guy. He had 73% of his passes and averaged 11.4.
Right.
So it's just incredible. Like, I don't know where these incompletions over the middle are coming from.
Okay, but you're telling me at one point that this draft class, that you can understand that there's holes there, but then you're telling me he's the greatest college football player of all time.
I said Drake Maye.
Okay.
I just think he's an injury risk. I do agree with that.
So here's the question for the Patriots. Are you crazy to trade out of number 3, or are you crazy to make the pick, right? Because to me, I think they're crazy to trade out of it. There's so many reasons why the Patriots need to move on with a quarterback. Even if you can get fancy and get cute and try to trade back and all of that, I think I would stay there and I would just take the pick because it is a priority, it is a need, and you are picking so high that you're not going to get your first or second option, but if your third option's really good, then take the third option.
What if I could sell you, you could trade down and get Marvin, let's give you Malik Neighbors, trade down just a little bit. You get Malik Neighbors and you get Michael Penix. Compared to Drake Maye throwing to God knows who. I don't even know who, I barely even know half the names on this Patriots depth chart of wide receiver. Could you argue, listen, maybe we go a different direction and then we wait and get our quarterback when the team is more ready?
Well, I don't know their evaluation, but if Drake Maye is higher in their evaluation and they think he's going to be a better pro prospect, then no, I don't do that. I take the guy who I think is going to be the better quarterback, and I try to have confidence that my front office is going to find receivers either later in the draft, where this is going to be really historically deep, draft a wide receiver, or I'm saying to myself, I got to solve my biggest problem. And if the quarterback solves my biggest problem, then I'm going to be able to fill in around him. Now, people will say, well, what about, and you've said you don't want a Bryce Young situation where Bryce Young goes to a team and he has nobody to throw to and it looks really awful. Well, you know what? That could be. But if it is, then once they get him some help, he'll be better, or Bryce Young might just not be as good as we thought on the pro level.
Yeah, maybe. I think, though, there is a real issue. There's just, look at the receivers here. Okay, we got Kendrick Bourne, who's pretty good, Demario Douglas, KJ Osborne, Juju, maybe, Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Reagor, Kayshon Boutte, who's suspended. This is bad. It's probably the worst receiving core in the league. I think if they draft Drake Maye, we're looking at 3 or 4 wins. And that's tough that's a dicey thing for a quarterback to be able to overcome that, because you never know. I mean, unless Gerard Mayo is some sort of genius, I just don't see. They're not doing what Houston did with C.J. Stroud last year, because there were a lot of pieces that were in place. They had a lot of other high picks around. I feel like the cupboard's so empty in New England. If you're a young quarterback and you go 4-13, that could be tough. You don't know if you're going to come back from that.
So you put out a poll.
Yeah.
Because you wanted the results. I don't know why, but you wanted the results on your social media feeds. You said, if you were the Patriots, would you take a quarterback at 3 or trade out? And taking a quarterback at 3 is winning in an overwhelming style, 61% to 39%.
That's overwhelming?
61%.
Wow, most polls I win 90-10.
Oh yeah. This is why you do it.
But no. I totally understand. Actually, I'm not winning or losing that. I understand to take a QB at number 3. I'm not even definitely saying they shouldn't, but I understand where Elliot Wolf's coming from with a sort of trade and get a haul, because they're going to be just awful next year. And I really want Gerard Mayo to succeed. I'm a big fan. I'm not sure Drake Maye is the guy. I'd rather have Jayden Daniels, because at least he can pull a Justin Fields and run. Drake Maye can run too, but I feel like there's just nothing there on that offense at all.
855-212-4227. That is the number to call. You can get involved with the show. Just because this is maybe the last time we're going to be able to get to play it, Pete, we got to circle back around to what we heard, most importantly, yesterday in Jacksonville. I still can't get over the fact that this happened, mostly because don't we all agree that these, GM press conferences before the draft, believe them at your own peril. I know we just talked about Elliot Wolf saying they're open for business, but believe them at your own peril. So what's the upside of doing these press conferences? It's a layup, basically.
It's like sort of engage your fan base or whatever.
And it just should be a layup for the general manager. Like, you shouldn't be getting grilled. This shouldn't be tough. No embarrassing moments should come out of this press conference. And yet, may I present Trent Baalke, who is the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this was their press conference yesterday.
Still got a couple of days going through. Coach and I haven't sat down and gone through the final board yet.
What happened there? How do you turn what is probably the easiest press conference you're going to do all year? What are they going to say? What's the media going to grill you on? You haven't made a pick yet. And somehow this comes out to be embarrassing for Jacksonville. What is going on down there? I mean, flatulence is what's going on down there. And he says, excuse me, so he definitely gave himself away. You can't blame that on a squeaky shoe.
Gone through the final board yet.
I hope he's not sick. Because that's what I first got to. I'm like, this guy might have IBS or something. Maybe it's undiagnosed. Because that's egregious. How do you even answer a follow-up question there? I know that people don't love the media. We get in people's crosshairs a lot. But how are you supposed to do your job after that happens? Now, thankfully, he's sitting at a table. It's kind of further away from everyone. Yeah. But still, that can't be a big room. I cropped us the room at the press conference.
It's funny, too. I don't think we've mentioned the Jaguars in about 3 months.
I was thinking about that, too. Yeah. Like, are they bordering on irrelevant? I don't know how that could be, though. They have Trevor Lawrence.
Well, they have the 17th pick, so that nobody exciting is going at 17. So why would we even be talking? They'll probably take a lineman.
Again, this should have been a layup press conference. There should be nothing that we were talking about with the Jags. Yeah. And then here comes their general manager.
Gone through the final board yet.
Unreal. How do you keep a straight face? I would start cracking up. How do you maintain any professionalism there?
Well, how come no one asked if he farted?
He said, excuse me. He confirmed already.
Oh, that's true.
It's probably not even necessary.
Well,
how would Greg Doyle have said, Pete?
That's true.
I'm sorry. Can I just follow up there? Was that what we thought it was?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Man, what a day. Again, 855-212-4227. Lots to talk about when it comes to the draft. And if the Patriots are indeed open for business, who is the team that should be tripping over themselves to try to get up to 3 to take that quarterback? So we've got that for you in just a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You know, a long time ago, someone said to me, not that long, when I had my son, said, you know what you should do? You should buy a Josh Allen rookie card for $20,000.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'll pay for your kid's college, education through this card. And I was like, that's not true. And it turns out, had I done that, I probably would have been able to pay for a couple degrees for my kid with that card. And the reason I say that story is because the sports collectibles market and the memorabilia market, Perloff, is crazy. If this feels like a little bit of a left turn from what we were talking about, it's because Darren Rovell, one of the great sports business reporters of this industry, is here with us in studio, and he's got a new website that's dedicated to sports collectibles. Darren, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate it so much. Okay, so you've been covering sports and the collectibles industry for a long, long time. Where are the top items right now? Like, if we're trying to shop at the top of the market, what are you looking for in a collectible?
Well, the latest, fastest rising thing is game worn. So when I was in college, when I was at Northwestern, the Bulls used to have a charitable auction where they would sell Michael Jordan jerseys, and they'd give you a letter, and it would say, this is a game-used Michael Jordan jersey. And you could get those jerseys for $5,000 to $10,000. Okay? Now what happens is they take that jersey, they have the letter, and they photo match it. So they take a photo, and there are all these imperfections on jerseys, right? Like the Bulls, each time when you sew it, it's a little bit different. And so they find all these, and then they say, this is the one he wore in game one of the 19. So if you have a jersey and you get a photo match, I mean, there was a Jordan jersey that sold last year for $10.1 million, right? If you get the right jersey, and there are people who are opportunists, right? You got to find the arbitrage who are bidding on something, they match it, the auction house hasn't matched it, and then they run away with it, right? I mean, so that's kind of that's one thing that's going nuts. I've been following tickets for a long time. Now we have digital tickets, which is kind of a shame, right? But like
tickets to famous sporting events. Yeah.
Yes. Card people love debuts, like debuts of people. I don't. I'm a moment guy, but like Jackie Robinson's debut, there's 5 of them, and the last 3 sales are $230,000, $300,000, and $480,000.
Jeez,
Darren, I've actually known you for a long time.
Yeah,
I remember I was at FoxSports.com was my first editorial job, and you did a little something.
I was there, and that was 1997.
98, I thought.
98.
Yeah,
okay,
because I remember it was the end of Jordan kind of.
Right. So I was, and I remember you, I was I pitched them to do FoxSportsBiz.com.
Yeah. Did they take it?
They did.
So my question is, back then, were you into collectibles? Did you get that Jordan jersey? Did you have like a first item back then? Or do you look back and now say, wow, what I could have done if I had known?
I didn't get the jump on it, but I did get the jump on it like 2005, like later, right? I still am like 15 years ahead of the COVID boom.
Okay.
So I but the question is, you got to make big bets, and you got to have enough money to make those big bets, right? Like, what was I going to do? Like, I'm hopeless as a university student. Like, I'm not going to make those, but you have to make those big bets. And, that's the thing that's so fun about this market, right? Like every day there's something else that's selling that, and sometimes you think you have an angle. I mean, there's a story where a couple of years ago, there's an auction house that is listing a Jackie Robinson, Martin Luther King, Ed Sullivan signed program, and it's item number like 600. It should have been item number 1. People get fatigued. They stop, right? And then I run away with it, and then I get it graded, and PSA, the grader, tells me, do you know, in our entire history, this is the only Jackie Robinson, Martin Luther King signed piece we have ever graded. Right? They weren't in the room together. They weren't in the same places together. And so, you got to make those type of crazy bets, and we like to report on it. And on the back end, I like to do it.
Darren Rovell is here with us in studio. He's got a new website called Collect, and that's where you're going to be reporting on sports collectibles and sports memorabilia. It's a huge industry right now. But again, you've covered the sports betting world, a lot of that, and obviously sports business. We talk now about Caitlin Clark all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that you recently went viral for is you said... Viral.
Totally viral.
Oh, Perloff went super viral talking about a Caitlin thing.
We all went viral.
Before you say
Yes.
it is amazing to see how protective people are of Caitlin Clark. That's what did I miscalculate? I don't know. You're not allowed to say anything but what people believe she should be. They're so protective of you can't say that. I'm like, I can't.
Well, let's set up what you said.
Okay.
So what you said, and to be honest, I thought you were just really bringing your sports business expertise to the conversation, which was she turns pro, goes to the WNBA, and you said, you just forfeited or took a pay cut, essentially forfeiting a lot of money. Then she comes out and signs this massive Nike deal yesterday where it looks like she's going to be doing an 8-figure deal or something. So why did you think she was going to take a pay cut? And do you still think that's true?
Well, so if you analyze it, she didn't take any money from the Iowa Collective, but if she came back, there certainly would have been a negotiation. So she could have made $1 to $2 million. That people need to understand is that is not to do endorsements. That's to do charity, to do other things that are apart from endorsements. That essentially is her salary.
Right.
When you compare the $1 or $2 million to the $76,000 in WNBA, in fact, $1 or $2 million for her Iowa year compared to the 4 years of the WNBA, she's still ahead. Plus, she's going to get all the endorsements. Now, the Nike situation is a little bit different. Iowa already has a contract with Nike, so you could say she wouldn't have had any leverage to get higher and higher there. I think that they still would have paid her an amount. Would it have been $5 million? Because they had to make a signature shoe for her.
Sure.
So what people don't understand is just because she's signing with Nike doesn't mean that she wouldn't have gotten a deal because she was in Nike at Iowa. They have to make a signature shoe. So it's totally different. So people yesterday, I almost couldn't go on Twitter because Rovell taking L's every another L. I should have 3 L's in my last name. I read so much. I read this stuff. But yeah, no, I mean it is mind-boggling to me how that's not possibly an argument. And but
did she make a bad deal? Do you think she made the wrong decision financially?
No, I mean now who knows?
Right.
Now I don't know. But the question also is, do people want to see her at Iowa dominating again? They assume she's going to dominate in the WNBA. I don't know. Are they going to allow her to play her game? Are they going to allow her to shoot off but the way that, we're talking about WNBA teams moving venues now, selling tickets. We have a story this morning on how people have sold her debut ticket, and her debut is May 14th. I've never seen that. I've never seen selling the debut ticket as a collectible before she even played it, or anyone had played it. So I love it. It's great for what I talk about. But then people it's you hate her. You want her to fail.
Darren, you should see what I got in trouble because I said this was not an intentional foul on her. People killed me. Maggie said that she thought the WNBA draft night look might not last for 10 years. And maybe
she went trendy with her outfits.
She went trendy.
So
and people
it's
are
not going to hold up just like LeBron
Maggie.
and just like, Carmelo Anthony wearing the big suits and people why are you a woman tearing down another woman? I'm like, I don't think I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm just commenting on she looked great, but it's going to be a trendy outfit, something that we talk about on draft night all the time. We talk about the outfits and all of that. So let's dig into that, though.
I have a question, though, about Caitlin. You became, I think, one of the things that when you sort of became famous in the industry was Michael Jordan. I think you were you were very, very savvy about the impact he had, and this is even before the Jordan brand came to dominate the field. Is it a fair comparison or even a discussion to say Caitlin Clark might be the Michael Jordan of the WNBA in the sense that Jordan grew the NBA exponentially? Can Caitlin Clark live up to that comparison in any way?
the question is, will she grow the game when she's not playing? Does she make the game better? In the next 5 to 10 years, are there better women players? Are there athletes, women athletes, who are going to go to one sport and now go to basketball? One of the things about the game that is undisputable is that the game itself is so much better. I couldn't watch women's basketball, even with Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird. I couldn't watch women's basketball 5-7 years ago. These games now and their skill level has taken a step up. So I think if it's like rising tide lifts all boats, I think that's her biggest impact. It's not exactly her. It's everyone coming up, and are they better athletes? Because then the whole like, men, you should watch women's basketball, that whole thing is like, well, it's not as good of a game. I don't think you have the same debate now. I think that it's a much better game to watch. I think the women's national championship was a better game than the men's.
Darren Rovell is here with us in studio just for a couple more minutes. He's got a new website called Collect. It reports on sports memorabilia and collectibles. It's a huge $500 billion industry. I mentioned you also cover sports betting and sports gambling, and that's obviously been in the news quite a bit. Do you still have any questions about Ipe Mizuhara, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, or
yes.
What are your questions? Or do you think Shohei, this is sort of cut and dry, kind of over the gambling scandal where Ipe was stealing from Shohei to cover his bets?
I've covered a lot of things, including, the famous Ricky Henderson story, which was then confirmed on, many occasions. You know that story? 1981 or 82, the A's give Ricky Henderson $1 million bonus, and at the end of the year, they say, "Hey, Ricky, we're plus $1 million on our balance sheet." And what do you do with the bonus? And he goes, "I framed it."
Yeah.
Like, what? You framed it? You didn't cash it? You could take a copy. You could bring it to the bank. So
he just wanted the $1 million check on the wall.
I guess
art.
so. And Manny Ramirez throwing paychecks in his glove compartment. Yeah. So I've heard of that, but like the idea that he had access to the account the way he did when I'm trying to send a $3,000 wire and my bank questions me.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's possible. I'm sorry. I don't think it's possible.
Shohei didn't know.
And they're around each other, they said, 365 days a year. It's not possible. Now, whether he gambled himself or not, I don't think so. But like whether he knew he was actually, the whole stolen idea, it just gets more and more unbelievable every day. And I can't believe it. I can't.
Related story. There's a lot of gambling stories now. FanDuel, the Jaguars had an employee who stole $22 million from the team and lost it all in FanDuel. What is the deal? Does FanDuel, DraftKings, and the other books, do they have a responsibility to watch out for stolen money? Is that
yes, but it's a fine line. It's a fine line because how much are they reporting? What obligation do they have to the league? There's definitely some privacy concerns. And they don't want to talk about it too much because you as a gambler, there's other people who aren't pro athletes who are professionals in business who, if they talk about it too much, they're not going to bet on FanDuel. They're going to go back to the bookie. So like there's definitely a fine line, and you'll notice that they won't talk too much about we noticed this player or we referred it to the league because once you start doing Big Brother stuff, there are bankers, there are other people who the guys who live the high life and spend a lot of money, they're doing it on FanDuel and DraftKings too. And you're talking to them. You're talking to them when you start saying, like, we let people know. So.
Darren Rovell here with us. He's got a new website called Collect. It's about sports collectibles and memorabilia. Last one for you, which is the Jonte Porter. Again, another gambling scandal. So he's indefinitely suspended by the NBA. Really triple threat here, betting on basketball, handing sensitive information to known sports gamblers, and
betting against his own team.
And also taking himself out of games, and 2 games we know about, so that his underprops could cash.
Wild.
Is this going to be a deterrent, though, for future scandals like this?
we needed to have the seminal moment where the guy gets suspended for his life. That had to happen. And, you're like, oh, Calvin Ridley, you had 30 instances in the NFL. Most of it was like, oh, we told them they couldn't use the team Wi-Fi.
Right.
But
he was on the bus.
But this, yes,
plane.
Right. You do need we kick this guy out for life. And I think, they did that. Now, whether guys are stupid or not and continue, I don't know, but I never thought this would happen. I thought maybe it would happen with college. They reduced in a lot of states. You can't bet on player props in NCAA. I thought, oh, these guys are making enough money. It will never happen like this. But I think two things need to happen. I think that needed to happen. And I actually do think that the leagues need to get much better at security. The amount of people who are betting at the game who are close, who when their parlays don't hit, it's pretty scary, and I'm not sure the leagues have lived up to what they need to do. They need to shore up the security stuff because that's just, I don't know.
So, Darren, look around this studio right now. Is there anything we can sell you here? We have some unique items. We have a Maggie
WNB. Is that a Liberty jersey?
That's a Nets jersey. Isn't
No,
it?
it is a Nets jersey that was gifted to me by the Nets.
That's a Thurman Thomas mini, or
no,
what is that?
that is a Freddie Jackson.
Oh no, I don't want that.
That's a
I don't
Freddie
want
J.
that. No, what is that? Oh, let me do the signatures.
We're giving Darren
What I know?
Rovell our memorabilia.
Let me give you the signatures.
Let's
All right,
see.
Maurice Cheeks. Nope.
Dr. J. Ever heard of him?
Dr. J in the middle.
Yeah.
So is this a 1983 76ers?
Unfortunately, no. I think it's 85. They won the title.
You got the wrong year. Yeah.
Memorabilia
who is this?
slightly
Echo
off.
Eccles? Who is this?
Franklin Edwards, maybe?
Yeah, Franklin Edwards. That's horrible. Lionel Hollins.
And it's
Lionel Hollins. Yeah.
It's a plastic deflated ball. That's the best I got for you.
You got to have the official balls.
So our pal Sully sent me a Jim
Jim
Kelly signed ball that's
Jim
right
Kelly,
here
very
in the
nice.
studio.
No, I don't want to buy anything.
Oh, I got
Would you like my Gracie Award from 2020?
Okay.
Perloff Vikings jersey. You're not going to see many of those.
Right. Can I? Well, actually, Thielen doesn't play for them anymore, so I don't go to the. Yeah. What's the Pearl Mighty Ducks jersey?
I have no idea. The Mighty Ducks sent it to us when we were at the Dan
Did they
Patrick
think
show.
your name was Pearl Off?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people call me Pearl, so they were trying to. They thought I'd wear it. Yeah, and these are unique items. I'm telling you, there's not a lot of Maggie Gray Rangers.
Seems like
jerseys
more
out
of a garage sale than a good auction. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
Darren just
man.
popped our hopes and dreams. We shouldn't have paid $20,000 for these jerseys.
The good thing is you don't have to pay insurance for the studio because there's nothing that anyone would want to take in.
Well, I think my
come
Gracie
on.
Award and maybe this company issued laptop would disagree. Darren, thank you so much. Good luck with the website. Collect
Thank you.
is where you can find.
No vowels, please. CLLCT.
CLLCT.
Yeah.
That's where you can find all the information on sports collectibles and memorabilia. Appreciate that. Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got headlines for us. Yo.
Guys, good morning again. We've had Patriots Director of Scouting Elliot Wolf saying they're open for business at number 3. Giants GM Joe Shane says he's gotten more calls than expected about teams wanting the 6th pick ahead of next Thursday's first round. And Adam Peters, the new GM of Commanders, says they're probably staying at number 2, presumably to draft a QB. So do they have somebody in mind?
PQ and I will huddle up and probably have an answer really sometime next week. Now, I will say this also, you don't really need to make a decision until you need to make a decision. So there's no rush with that, but I think we'll have a pretty good idea what we're doing early next week.
Some baseball from last night. Just one game under the lights. The Giants blanked the Diamondbacks 5-zip. Just 2 hours, 12 minutes. Both those teams now 9-11. We do have this. The FAA confirming last night to Denver media that it has launched an investigation into an unauthorized person being in the cockpit of a recent Rockies charter flight. Videos got online and show members of the team's coaching staff in the cockpit while the plane was at cruising altitude and in autopilot. It was a United jet, and the company calls this a, quote, clear violation of our safety and operational policies. The pilots have been grounded while United does its own investigation into this.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
So they let the coaching staff come into the cockpit.
They opened the door to the cockpit, and there's videos. I guess some idiot then on top of that idiocy put things out on like social media, and like they're probably just a very normal, like, here's what all the buttons look like, but you can't do that anymore.
Since 9/11, you're not allowed.
The FAA is pissed.
Even on a private charter?
That's confusing to me, too. I would think.
I think once the plane is in the air, that door's got to be closed and stay closed.
Well, I was wondering, too, like, were these employees flying the plane? Like, did the pilots go in the back and get drunk with the players? And, like, is that the violation?
It's like they're playing Boo-Ray in the back, actually. The co-pilot is down 20 grand.
Yeah.
Charlie
The third
Blackman.
base coach is desperately calling air control, saying, how do I land this thing?
It's the Rockies coaching staff. I believe they were probably submitting their resumes.
It's not going to be
looking for another job.
Yeah, they're going to need it soon.
Interesting. You know, this is way pre 9/11. On a flight once, my mom got to sit in the cockpit, and she got to watch the plane land, and it kind of cured her fear of flying.
Really?
Oh, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. I feel like as a kid we went into the cockpits, didn't I? Maybe it was in the
before
movies.
the plane took off, right?
Or when it
I
landed?
don't know. No. I feel like kids could go up and talk to the pilot during the flight when things were steady.
Famous scene in Airplane.
I don't know. I mean, obviously there's a movie Airplane where the kid comes up,
and
talks to Kareem. But yeah, I think that used to not be a big deal. This is crazy. Private flight. I thought you could do anything.
Except that.
Do we want to play the game? How many members of the Rockies can you name?
Because even like when I was, here's me telling my net story
Tovar.
again. When I was on the Nets plane, they were still doing like the beeps and tones to like alert the flight attendants. Like it wasn't like they were.
Ladies and gentlemen from the cockpit. That one.
Yeah, they do
or
all
even
that.
just that little beep. Those beeps all mean something. Like the random just tones. Like that's a thing. Those are all messages to the crew about what's going on because they can't go into the cockpit either.
Do they say cross check, which still no one knows what that means, even though we hear it every time?
It goes bing bong.
But I think
what
that
is a cross check?
No one on earth knows.
No.
But,
also, no one on earth knows why they are now, because there's so many TVs on planes, why they are consistently interrupting your movie for nothing. Yet when the turbulence really hits, you get no updates.
Yeah. That's the worst. It's a dramatic moment. We are over Omaha. It's like it's the end of Good Will Hunting or something. Whatever. Are we doing, every comic's got an airplane bid. I think that's what we're doing here. We're emptying the barrel. But that's a wild story.
Kentucky star Reed Sheppard is not sticking around for the Mark Pope era or following John Calipari to Arkansas. Sheppard is expected leaving college for the NBA draft. Former Kentucky assistant under Cal, Kenny Payne, is going to Arkansas. He'll be Cal's associate head coach all after those miserable 2 seasons as Louisville's head coach. It was the final night of the NHL regular season, and we still had some seeding to decide in the Western Conference.
And off the draw, Kempe quickly moves in. Kempe shoots and scores! That's the way to end the regular season. Overtime goal. Adrian Kempe, 6 seconds in.
Nick Nixon on Kings Radio. Adrian Kempe scoring off the opening face-off of overtime. As he said, it took officially 6 seconds, tying for the quickest OT goal ever. The Kings beat Chicago 5-4, just getting to overtime with Vegas losing to Anaheim 4-1, good enough to earn LA third place in the Pacific Division. They'll face the Oilers in round 1. The Golden Knights, dropping to the second wildcard spot, will face top-seeded Dallas. And because everybody cares about non-major golf, Scotty Scheffler opening with a 269 yesterday in Hilton Head. He has yet to shoot over par in 36 rounds this season. He tees off at 10:39 Eastern this morning, 6 shots off the lead for now of JT Poston. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, we've got the one thing you've got to be watching for tonight. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. I got to tell you, last night, Maggie, there was not a lot of baseball on. NHL hasn't really gotten going. No NBA. I am looking forward. I've become addicted to have something on at night. So I love the NBA playoffs. Although last year we were 3 to 6 Eastern. So we're going to have NBA playoff games going on all night, especially LeBron against Denver on Saturday. I feel like this is going to be pretty good, and this is going to challenge us. Especially because LeBron's out west, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, well, the question is, how many games is LeBron actually going to be participating in these playoffs for?
I think you're going to have 5 hugely rated games against Denver, and then the ratings are going to fall off. But I still think it's just so fun to have him have a puncher's chance here. And I like LeBron, the underdog. I think you view it differently. He can't view himself as an underdog because he's LeBron.
Yeah.
But I think he's in a good position here. He can't lose this series. Except by losing it.
So I was going to say,
he can lose.
He could lose and he can get swept. I mean, that you never want that on your resume.
I also think this is good for Joker because Joker won the title last year, 2-time MVP. I think he's going to emerge more as a star in LeBron's shadow. Maybe even fill that void as like the best player?
Well, if you're asking me which superstar has the most pressure on them heading into the NBA playoffs, I actually don't think it's Joker because
unless there's a horse race going on, no.
that he's a Serbian horse race he's got to get to. That's a lot of pressure. You're going to make it on time. I think the obvious answer has got to be Jason Tatum, and I don't even know if there's a close second.
Yeah, this is do or die for Tatum. This is the year. But, I mean, he's just still young.
Well, here's the reason why, right? He's already had multiple bites at the apple of not only the Eastern Conference Finals, but it did make it to a finals and obviously lost to Golden State. The other part is just how the Eastern Conference is breaking right now. You can't ever say you know how it's going to go, but Joel Embiid is hurt. Giannis is hurt. The Knicks are not full strength. The Pacers are pretty young and don't play any defense. Jimmy Butler is hurt, and he's got to play a winner-go-home game tonight. I mean, there's so many things in the Eastern Conference broke right here for the Celtics, who have led the Eastern Conference from wire to wire.
No. For Celtics, it's title or bust.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be judged on how he does in the finals. Like, if they lose before, that's an even bigger disaster. I think the pressure comes.
What about the Bucks? I know with Giannis, it's hard.
No.
I know, but Doc Rivers was talking to really... I think he came in to sort of be the closer, but he was there because Adrian Griffin apparently couldn't do the job well. They did make the trade for Dame Lillard. They have a bunch of all-stars on their team.
I haven't seen a single expert predict them to do anything in this postseason. They were bad before Giannis got hurt. Bad. I mean, they were losing to the Wizards. This is not a good... I feel like they're a non-factor in this playoffs, honestly. You know who I think is emerging as having some pressure?
Who's that?
Somewhere you might not have thought a month ago, but they've been on fire the second half. Luka.
Yeah.
This is now... Kind of feel exactly.
Also went to Western Conference Finals.
Well, sort of, yeah, but they didn't have a chance. They just happened to fall into the Western Conference Finals. Like, people are starting to wonder, wait, the best, he could be the best player in the NBA, but is he going to do anything in the playoffs? And they have a pretty easy series against the Clippers because Kawhi is on 100%. I guess he's gotten some treatment on his knee. But then they have Oklahoma City, another great matchup. Feels like they can fall into the Western Conference Finals again. Will it be a letdown if he doesn't make the finals?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I know he's got Kyrie next to him, and Kyrie's been really good this year, but doesn't it still feel like they're still searching for the right type of piece to put next to Luka?
Yep. They're outgunned by Denver. I mean,
definitely.
So I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed. You know who no one's talking about, right? If you think about this playoffs, Kevin Durant, is he still in the NBA? What's going on? Did you ever hear somebody walking down the street say, wow, I wonder how KD's going to do in this playoffs?
Honestly, think about a more stunning... It's like he had a fall from grace, but he didn't do anything to lose the grace. Like, he didn't have a scandal. He didn't have any... There's no reason that he would have fallen out of favor, just him asking for a trade from the Nets. I mean, that's like par for the course. And yet you're right, a total afterthought.
And he's scoring 27 points a game. He's kind of a quiet MVP candidate that no one thinks the Suns are dangerous.
Well, how many games have Durant and Bradley Beal and Booker actually played together? It's like 10 or 12?
I think almost as many as you, me, and Bradley Beal, Kevin. I think it's closer to 8. It's funny. KD had 75 games this year. I mean, and it was no one noticed. It's just it's a bizarre turn of events. I honestly, let's be honest. We need LeBron to do something here. For our purposes, to really, NBA ratings have not been great.
Yeah.
They really need LeBron to step up here. And I kind of, as a fan, I like the Nuggets too. I want to see LeBron playing. It just makes everything more interesting.
I think so, because there's like some history on the line, and he's coming towards the end, and it feels like his legacy right now kind of has the most to gain or lose.
Yeah.
Like, Jokic is going to be around for a long time. Luka's going to be around for a long time. Giannis is still going to be around for a long time. Who knows if he's still in Milwaukee? Tatum's still young. There's just the one who seems like they have just the stakes is LeBron.
Yeah.
And he also has the toughest matchup.
And anytime he scores 30 in a game or anything, it's going to be the most ever scored by someone his age. So break records every day.
I'm telling you, if the Lakers lose or get swept, I think LeBron is already charting his course out. And you want to know, to add on top of it, it's an Olympic year. And the Olympics is where that's where the alliances get made.
No, see what's happening here is he's going to lose this playoffs, and then he's going to be like, well, at least I got the gold medal. So then that scratches his itch for a championship. By the way, can we just talk about one quick LeBron move? When he went up and under against Zion at the end, I pulled that move at the court. Oh, he's playing old man basketball at an elite level.
Not like you.
It's so much like me. Oh, crafty. When did we ever call LeBron James crafty, like Andrew Perloff style?
No, that's a new adjective
See this,
for him.
Meg? You see this? It's called 3 pump fakes in a row. I learned that by watching LeBron. That'll get the youngins off their feet.
Didn't look exactly the same when you do it.
You can see it on YouTube. You kidding me? You almost jumped out of your chair.
Thank you to Pat Boyle stepping in today for EJ, doing a great job. We'll be back with us on Monday as well. Thank you to Pete Pilati. Thank you to Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, DeMar Hamlin, Darren Rovell, Tom Fernelli. What a guest list today. Have a great weekend, everyone.
You're in a 5-minute break.